All right, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to night 3 of TNVC and Night Goggles vSHOTT Virtual Shooting, Hunting, Outdoors, Tactical Tele-Event. No affiliation whatsoever with NSSF. Final night for 2023. So historically, the last night of vSHOTT is when we kind of focus more heavily on kind of the future of the industry and the future of night vision technology. We've got a couple of special guests for you that are coming in, both remote as well as Buckner here with me, who's our guest host tonight. And obviously, of course, you know, I know that you guys are all looking forward to the grand prize giveaway of the Cobalt Kinetics CK Pro TNVC Custom Woodland Rifle. So that giveaway drawing will be happening tonight during the panel discussion, the virtual circle bar portion of our presentation, as well as several other great giveaways. Once again, guys, you know, totally free to watch and participate, no registration required. But if you want to be registered to win a chance to get that Cobalt Kinetics rifle, well, not that one specifically, but one very similar to it, you have to go to tnvc.com/vSHOTT, vSHOTT, and register for the e-blast. That e-blast will get you exclusive links to vSHOTT special products, coupon codes, and all sorts of other perks, as well as automatically entering you in the giveaways. So, Buck, why don't you introduce yourself to our guests?
I'm Buck. Oh. So yeah, my name's Dwayne Buckner. I go by Buck. People know me as Buck. I'm the director of training for Aimpoint. Yeah, so that's what I do. I teach for Aimpoint. Prior to this, I worked for a company, Tiller Group, trained for them. And then prior to that, I had a career, I retired from the military, retired from the Coast Guard and the military. After about 25 years, I was in our DSF, so I spent a lot of time around these things and shooting and so on. So that's what I do now. Yeah, that's what I do. And this, I do this.
Awesome. So you know, again, we talked a little bit before this when we were getting ready for the show, but you know, again, the future of night vision, the future of night vision technology. You know, we've got a lot of questions that people have started submitting in. You know, previously about the future of night vision technology, and so we got a lot of questions about dual-purpose NVGs, dual spectrum, dual band, fusion technology. You know, so people talk a lot about. You know, people have been asking a lot about combining thermal with image-intensified night vision technology, and I mean, there's, you know, it's not as new, I think, as some people think. You know, some people think that it is. I mean, it's been around for quite a while, but you know, we had a lot of we've gotten a lot of questions about when thermal fusion technology is going to be available to the commercial market and to commercial customers. So I mean, right now, ultimately the demand from the DoD for fusion systems is you know, so things like the ENVGB, BNVD fused, and all of that, you know, the demand is still extremely high. But there are you know, there are fusion products that are currently available on the market. So TNVC is the exclusive commercial distributor of the E-Cody. Have you ever used the E-Cody?
I have, yeah. I mean, post my career, actually. Yeah. I saw one get to the bottom of the Savannah River.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But we won't call that used. Yeah.
But
fantastic, man. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a great capability, and I think you know, kind of like we were talking about before, you know, one of the things with like there are guys, and we've talked about it on previous nights, but you know, some people use a thermal monocular on one side and a PVS-14 on the other side, and I mean, it works for some people. I would say for the vast majority of people, they're not really able to get it work. But I mean, the great thing about something like the E-Cody attached to you know, a set of, you know, to a good image intensified night vision system, it's like we were talking about, you know, you kind of forget that you're wearing it.
That's exactly, because that's what you're looking for. You know? Yeah, exactly. I think the probably a lot of the combination of information has less to do with the equipment and more to do with the equipment. You know, it has more to do with the funnel that comes down to the human's ability to process the information. And we can get to a point where I think we begin to look at the world the way we're not designed to look at the world, you know, because we're just getting so many lanes of information. You know, but the E-Cody does that exceptionally well, I think. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it integrates seamlessly, I think, with night vision devices, and it gives you all of that, you know, it gives you that information without being too obtrusive. I mean, not only is it a small, lightweight device, but, you know, you don't have to think about the fact that you're using both spectrums. You just, you know, something warm pops up, and all of a sudden, you know, it gets your attention, and you don't really have to think all that much about it. But we do have a, you know, one of the complaints, I say, you know, the E-Cody is a phenomenally capable device. It's also not an inexpensive device.
No, it's not.
And part of that is because of a lot of the augmented reality features that are built into it. You know, a lot of them at the request of the DoD, and the E-Cody that we currently sell is the full-featured E-Cody that's you know, the same one that's issued to the Marine Corps with the SBMVG for the PVS-31 Deltas. But all of those augmented reality features will kind of add to the cost of that product. So we've worked with Optics One, and you know, again, I think I said this in one of the previous videos too, but you know, we kind of just wanted a dumb E-Cody, you know, that just gave you that thermal overlay capability, and just without the extra cost of the augmented reality features.
Right, because again, I think you begin to attack our ability to process the information, which is the big deal. I mean, that's really why you're doing this. And so if you kind of, again, you can't get it through that choke point, and sometimes you can. And I think, like you say, the dumb E-Cody, I think it does it great, you know, and it's cheaper, like you say. Yeah.
But so, you know, so working with Optics One, so we, you know, it's been announced before, but so we were able to develop with them or they developed, and we're the commercial distributor of, the exclusive commercial distributor of the thermal augmentation device, the TAD. And I think we've got a short video presentation on the TAD.
Safran Optics One Thermal Augmentation Device, or TAD, is a non-ITAR night vision enhancement and visual augmentation system that attaches to and expands your existing night vision capabilities. TAD is a low-cost, lightweight, compact design that significantly increases the ability to detect thermal heat signatures by law enforcement, search and rescue personnel, and the prepared civilian. The TAD overlays onto the I² scene and does not require modification to existing hardware, is powered by a single CR123 battery, is waterproof up to 20 meters, can be used in extreme low light, no light, or foliated conditions where I² devices are limited. The thermal augmentation device provides unmatched detection capability and situational awareness by adding a long-wave infrared thermal overlay onto the user's NVDs. The compact and lightweight TAD attaches to NVDs in mere seconds without tools by using a simple bracket, and detects heat sources, including residual, that allow the operator to track down survivors or identify threats. TAD provides a user-friendly heads-up display compass heading that assists with point-to-point navigation, significantly increasing head-up and hands-free situational awareness.
yeah. So what were you saying about? So that, I mean, that just reminds me of at one point, you know, the AC had gone out, but we weren't quite sure whether or not it was out in the house, and we're trying to figure out, you know, whether or not the AC is broken. And I'm looking at the like you know, I'm trying to I'm holding my hand up there, and then finally my wife's like, don't you have like a bunch of thermal equipment? Can't you just
And you said, yeah, but not really.
Oh, right. But yeah, I mean, great presentation on the TAD there. I mean, you know, so you've gotten a chance to look at some of the augmented reality systems that the DoD is playing with.
Yeah, sure. So I was, we were talking about earlier, I was at Benning during the maneuver conference, and they had, I won't say the company, but it was pretty impressive, you know, kind of heads-up display. The information, the amount of information that you got through, that you had to take in, you know, waypoint information, which is not a new thing. Targeting that you could, you know, acquire and track, and it would track for you and so on. But the interesting thing was, what I found was it was overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
You know, it was a little overwhelming to me. So, I mean, really, honestly, I need to see the terrain. I need to see somebody who's trying to kill me. And all the other information, I have other kind of analog things that I can use to manage those things. And the best part of that, though, I think I said this earlier, was the battery was at my belt. Back here, you know, not up here.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting thing for me because it was, as you said, as a machine, it was exceptionally capable. More capable than this machine.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's really what it came down to, you know, and I think we're kind of bumping up against that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's, and yeah, I mean, when I have used like augmented reality systems, whether you're talking about like ATAC or you know, Net Warrior, or I never, you know, used Land Warrior, but you know, I remember seeing like all the stuff Land Warrior being being trialed, and I mean, IVAS, and looking at and talking about IVAS, it's one of those funny things that I just, you know, whether you're talking about IVAS, whether you're talking about Land Warrior or Net Warrior, Future Force Warrior, like all of the various warrior programs that the Army has had.
They're all so good.
but it's very clear what they want. They just, I mean, and you know, good on them for continuing to push the technology to do that. But it's
a little bit of the guy picking the rain gear that's never in the rain. You know, it really is a bit of that, because honestly, I mean, in my experience in service, and then my experience teaching post that career, really honestly, the individual operator, whatever that means to you in whatever context, he's just looking for simplicity, or she's just looking for simplicity. That they really do need that, because, you know, to clear all those capacities that just go away from you when things go badly, the last thing in the world you need is this funnel of information driving in where you can't process it.
And like, you know, and for like, you know, my conventional as hell ass, you know, having been on like battalion staffs and stuff like that, I mean, dear Lord, staffs have so much trouble processing what little information. Well, I mean, I say what little jokingly, but actually, you know, the amount of information that a battalion staff can get from a soldier in the field now as compared to even, you know, when
It's amazing.
So, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of information, but then you look at things like ENVGB or IVAS and the amount of potential for that information. I mean, and once again, when you try that stuff out in like a demonstration context, I mean, it's fantastic.
It's great.
Capabilities. Like it's you know, it's all sorts of great stuff. I mean, it really is like Call of Duty, and you have like all of the remote feeds and everything like that.
Yeah.
But then but then I think back to being like you know, I think back to being like a battle captain in the TOC or something like that, and I'm like, oh God, first of all of the network stuff. I mean, we have enough trouble with the signals with the signal guys, and just getting the things that we already have working. So I'm imagining the nightmare it's going to be to keep all of those network systems up and running. But
well,
then
the truth is it won't.
Exactly.
It won't happen.
But then I think about that battalion commander who now thinks that he needs to have all this information in order to make a tactical
I was
decision.
Yeah, exactly.
And
what they take away from you is the most powerful thing in any scenario, any military scenario. It's a button where you can say, wait out. You know what I mean? And it turns the whole thing off because invariably somebody back at the top is going to say, you know, what's the situation here or something like that. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to keep myself alive at the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, and that's, you know, I imagine the nightmare situation of a battalion commander who won't, you know, who won't give release authority until, like, he can see, or she can see the direct remote feed from the soldiers, you know, augmented reality system. And you know, so the potential for kind of information paralysis that comes from those augmented reality systems, you know, I think it's a very like the balance that you have to strike and you know that you have to walk that thin line is that there really is such a thing as too much information.
Well, there very much is, and you bring up a fantastic point. So it's not about. I always thought this, you know, when I was getting, you know, reach back is a good thing and a bad thing because where is the information going to do the most good? Is it here with me where things might go badly, or here with you where your career might not go badly? You know, so but the like you say, the paralysis that occurs is absolutely real because in extremis, in deep stress, your brain is just feverishly trying to get to a binary problem.
Yeah,
fight or flight, really. You know, I mean, so it doesn't want all of these inputs. In fact, there's good science to say that the more inputs that you have, whether that's visually largely because we're a big seeing machine, or externally audio, you know, so for somebody calling you, your brain stops working. It really slows down. Sometimes it won't even, auto exclusion, it won't even hear them, which is great. Way out, you know what I mean? But yeah, you're very, very right. But we need to again, it's the funnel, you know what I mean? So we are the limitation in that equipment, I think, anyway.
Well, and yeah, I mean, it's the old, you know, it's the stereotype of the lieutenant that just freezes up, you know, at the first moment and just cannot make a decision. There's too many things going on, and you know, that's a trope from you know World War II, Revolutionary War, and then you talk about the amount of information in like ENVGB or IVAS, and I mean, again, to our audience, I'm not sitting here trying to say, oh, this stuff's all useless, you shouldn't use it, we shouldn't be developing this technology. The technology, the capabilities, you know, it's all absolutely, you know, it's fantastic stuff, and there's great potential for using the technology. And of course, this is the TNVC vSHOTT show. We spend a lot of time talking about the amazing things that technology can do. But I think, you know, in particular, one of the things that you know, is going to be a theme of the night as we continue talking about, you know, what may be there to come in the future is not losing sight of that human component.
Absolutely, the limitations of the body, you know. This is actually pretty great, we gotta say this, right? So there's a dividing line between Augie and I, where he is very much understanding of all the tech, and I don't. But I like the human side of it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, it's great. But I absolutely agree with you, that the human factor or component, interestingly, and it's probably in all things, not just in what we do, but, you know, we have a tendency to develop past our capacity or capability to process, and in this, unfortunately, it can be very, very bad. You know, for the individual person. It's funny, as you were talking, I was thinking about IVAS in particular. You know, battlefield networking. That's an interesting thing because it's a technology that applies to that piece of equipment or that system essentially that is passive. You know, it's existing on the individual soldier operator, but it's not costing them anything, but it is giving the top, you know, real information. That's great, that's fantastic. But when you start to, when the information, the amount of information being delivered to the operator begins to task the operator outside of their, you know, kind of the, you know, that's bad. That's really bad because, you know, this task saturation leads to the paralysis that we're talking about, you know.
No, I mean, absolutely, and I think that you know, that's, I mean, and you do, and all of our guest hosts, I mean, Don, Chris Islove, you know, And we at TNVC, we're constantly talking about the education, about the training, because all of the technology in the world and the greatest technology and the best technology isn't, you have to learn how to use that to its greatest benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about, so obviously ENVGB, IVAS, those are big Army programs, and those are, again, it's supposed to be being issued to super conventional forces. But I mean, some of these capabilities, are already fielded within special operations, and these capabilities are continuing to be developed for special operations. And yeah, I mean, last year was in a couple of government briefings talking about systems like all sorts of different kinds of augmented reality systems. I don't know if I can really.
You're gonna get yourself in trouble.
Well, I was like I don't know. Like, it's a program of record. It's out there, but yeah. They were talking about like the HUDs, the augmented reality that they have built into systems like the BNVD Fused, which, for the audience is the BNVD Fused is basically the kind of soft, not dumb, but dumber version of the ENVGB, because, ENVGB is very specifically designed for big armies' specific network and requirements. So the BNVD Fused, has some of those capabilities, but it obviously doesn't tie in the same way to big armies systems and FWSI. And now, I mean, I'll probably just spout letters at random. But anyhow, but they're talking about trying to develop a heads-up display for for special operations guys, and not just what we were talking about. I mean, it's for the first generation, or the first crack at it, was kind of just generally considered to be way too busy,
overdone. Yeah.
But just the difficulty even in getting consensus among end users about what information that they want in there. There's some, and there were some guys, and we talked about this earlier as well, where there was definitely like the older guys who had been who have been in for a decade plus. Like, those guys are fine with, like, I have my bearing, I have my general direction to my next waypoint, and maybe I have like my grid location, and that's it. That's all they want.
Yeah.
Then you have the younger guys who, again, came up on like Call of Duty and stuff like that, and they're happy with way more information in their HUD. So, like, even from the technology side of it, there's not a one-size-fits-all solution that's working. So they're having to figure out how to make the heads-up display configurable.
Yeah. Which is a big deal.
And
technologically, it's a big deal to do that.
Well, I mean, you think about the size of a night vision goggle that you're going to wear in front of your head.
I think people lose sight of that. in a lab,
Well, yeah, and BNVD Fused or FPANO is not a small system.
No, it's not a small system.
But, I mean, it's not like you can't put a touch screen or a menu in there, like with a bunch of buttons that do a whole bunch of different things. So, but, they also want to have, so you think about, again, an image intensifier to 40-degree field of view. Then you have to overlay a HUD inside of that.
Yeah, right.
And then you have to divide that digital display into like multiple different areas so that the operator can go in there and decide what icon goes in what location on that screen.
It reminds me of like a Formula One steering wheel. You know what I mean? When you look at it, it dazzles me. I would crash.
Oh yeah, and that's why like things like the F-35 have all this stuff. You can put that in the cockpit.
But there's an enormous amount of automation that assists that pilot in doing those things, and the individual operator or individual soldier that won't have that. They won't have that because they're not carrying the rest of the F-35 with them, you know what I mean? So it's an interesting thing. We have this idea that when we look at a piece of information, especially a piece of information, but especially a piece of information that we have to process, that if it's in a field of information, that all of that information is going to come kind of as written. But it's not that. It's not that.
Yeah.
You know, we have to process an individual piece of information separate from every other piece of information. So when you do that, I mean, we all look at our phones and press the orange app, well, and we're reading that it's not the app we want, but it's orange, so we press it. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's audible and not the context, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? That's going to happen with that, because it's a processing lag. You know, so essentially what's happening is that the color frequency is getting to the back of our brain, or to the front of our brain, from the back of our brain faster than the others.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. We seem to have this kind of movie technology lag where we think we're there, but we're not really there, and our bodies work this way, but they really don't work this way, you know what I mean? And it just, I think what it ends up being is a detriment. I teach a lot of times that the line between implement and impediment is pretty thin, you know what I mean? And I think that we're striking kind of near that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to find that balance where we're feeding information, the correct information to the operator's desire, the right way and at the right pace. You know, it's an interesting thing. We shouldn't stop technology because of that, but we absolutely should think about this. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like experimenting with a parachute.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's so I'm getting I'm being informed that you know, while we're sitting here nerding out about the psychological aspects, people are in fact interested in kind of the important information about the TAD, how much is it going to cost, and when can they get it. So right now the MSRP, the projected MSRP is going to be right about $6,500. So again, it's not an insignificant amount of money, but it's, you know, I mean, the E-Cody is about $9,500, and the TAD's actually got a slightly more advanced sensor, and we're expecting it to be available kind of late this year, as soon as we are, you know, fully confident in. I mean, I don't want you know, I don't want our audience, I don't want our viewers to think that the TAD is some sort of vaporware. It is not vaporware. They are very actively working on it and developing it, and there are, you know, obviously, as much as, you know, we have a great relationship with the folks at Optics One, and as much as we love those guys, and I think they like us,
I would assume so.
we make them some pretty good money, and they keep giving us exclusives on products, so I think that we have a pretty good relationship there. But they weren't going to, they weren't going to develop this solely for us. So there is, you know, a good bit of interest. There are other folks, non-U.S. commercial market, because once again, TNVC is the exclusive U.S. commercial distributor of the TAD. But there is, so it is a very active program in development. So when I say that, you know, we will open up pre-orders when I'm confident of the delivery time, I mean that when I'm confident in, like, you know, exactly how many weeks I should be able to tell you, not in the general amount of time that well, and I think that, you know, we get into this situation, especially not just with vSHOTT, but with things like SHOT Show and everything like that. And I mean,
so just a rush, yeah.
Well, you know, we spend all this time, effort, resources developing these products. We get really excited about them. We want to tell people about them.
Yeah, of course.
But you know, you have to be careful about what you promise people. Like you can again, unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
Where, you know, like something maybe goes wrong or something like that, and then you know, some date slips by like 3 weeks, and the internet is after you.
Oh yeah, they come out, the long knives come out. Yeah. Ask me, I know.
Well, I mean, and you know, I mean, I started out as a consumer as well as an enthusiast before, you know, I mean, I surely know the pain of being a customer, being a consumer, and like being excited about a product that's coming out, and And I think that's the case with a lot of a lot of folks in the tactical industry in general. A lot of people come from the enthusiast community.
Yeah.
And so nobody wants to keep this stuff from you.
Everybody wants to sell the stuff.
Yeah, and nobody wants a product to be late. Nobody wants to tell you that it's due.
Nobody relishes that idea. Instagram kills you for that.
Nobody wants to show the same thing multiple SHOT shows in a row.
Right.
Does it happen?
Yeah.
A lot. It does.
Yeah, you're right.
But
yeah, but I think right now, especially, everything is late, or supply chain issues, and there's just all kinds of things. The world's going through these contractions of some sort or another. So especially something as complex as the things we're talking about today.
But
be patient.
All of that is to say, we will have pre-orders for the TAD soon. The projected retail price is going to be $6,500. So we are definitely very, very excited. I mean, I just personally have been a huge proponent of fusion systems. Basically, I mean that was so. Again, talking about what fusion used to cost. When I was a consumer enthusiast, it wasn't something that was exactly super accessible to me. I'd used some things, I'd used some things that people had, and I was familiar with the technology. But I mean, it's just a fantastic capability to have that thermal detection. I mean, I do think that sometimes it gets a little bit lost in translation for like target shooting. It's like when you're shooting at paper, when you're shooting at steel, fusion. The fusion experience is not all that different than the night vision experience.
It's really not. Unless you heat the steel.
You're
right.
But any kind of force-on-force scenario, any kind of once you're in an active situation. I mean, and again, that's why when I was first kind of exposed to me, it did not take me long to figure out like, oh my God, this would be huge. This would be a huge capability.
Yeah. First time I ever really dealt with any kind of thermal enhanced information that way, I was astounded. I go, this makes sense because it is an overlay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's no further processing for me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of like just like a little hey, look, there's something there.
Yeah.
And so we do have some questions coming in live. So we actually addressed this a prior night, and I went on a whole rant about how I don't really like about how I don't think that the detection range. The detection range question or the range question I sometimes have difficulty with because it's entirely dependent on conditions.
Completely, subjective.
And it's entirely dependent on what you're doing. I mean, what I will say is that I like man-sized objects with something like the TAD or the E-Cody. I mean. I've seen, there are conditions under which you can see that there's something hot 400 meters out.
At the tree line.
Yeah. Sometimes, again, dependent on conditions, dependent on the ambient temperature of the background, how well, a particular object is concealed or anything like that, So it can vary. I do have the spec sheet somewhere, but I'll have to admit that I don't remember off the top of my head what kind of the nominal spec sheet detection range is on the TAD. But I mean, it's effective, and we were talking about this. We were also talking about this earlier. Is that really ultimately. To me, at least, I mean, night vision is great for. I mean, first of all, it's just a lot of fun to shoot under night vision.
Yeah, it's
it's a lot of fun, But it's I mean, to me, it's primarily a maneuver tool.
It's a maneuver tool.
It's not
like a lot of my time saying that.
Primarily an engagement tool. You know, I mean, the whole like infantry thing, close with and destroy. Mm-hmm. Everybody's focused on the destroy thing, right. But you know, it's the close with.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the close with issue. So you know, again, if you see a hotspot, if you see a blip out 400 meters. Like that, you know, when we're going back to talking about information processing, you know, that buys you, distance buys you time.
Right.
And then you can decide, you know, do I want to get closer and investigate? Do I want to bypass?
Yeah. You're at the information bridge because nobody is going to engage something at 400 meters based on that level of information unless they've made the decision for you, you know, and so I agree with you, absolutely, it's maneuver. Yeah, it's absolutely, especially law enforcement.
And again, so like it's that decision making, that's the decision making assist that doesn't cost you too much processing.
Exactly right. That's a great way to say it.
Is basically, you know, the benefit of the fusion. Because I mean, again, we get these questions, you know, we frequently get the questions like, what's the PID range of the E-Cody or the TAD or everything like that? And it's like, I mean, again, first of all, it's heavily dependent on conditions, but to me, it's, I mean, to me, it's to assist in that decision, get closer, bypass, or, you know, or
not
engage.
Trip over those rocks.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's a fundamental. I'm not saying this for anybody's misunderstanding this, but kind of the thought process is a fundamental misunderstanding of the way we see. So really, honestly, if we could throw a number up there and it'd be absolutely accurate, it would be accurate to the machine.
Yeah.
But not to the person behind it, because that's the variable. The machine is not. It's pretty fixed. The technology is pretty fixed, but the person behind it is highly variable. Stress, all kinds of things will atrophy their ability to do, you know, anything that this thing does. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that you have to consider all things.
Yeah.
Take a holistic approach. I needed to use that word tonight.
A part of that question was also what the field of view is. Fortunately, this one I have a quick and easy answer for. 30 degrees, same as the E-Cody. It's actually slightly more advanced sensor than the E-Cody. We did some videos so they're asking where they can get more information on the TAD. So we did a couple of videos at SHOT Show that are currently available on our social media. We'll repost them again on YouTube as well. So if anybody wants to find that information, I believe Optics One has some of that information currently on their website as well. And this is totally on me, y'all, in preparation for the pre-order for the TAD. We are planning on putting a lot of content out, a lot of information on it, and you know what the benefits are, and you know how it works and everything. Well, just in general.
Okay.
So you know, kind of like because, I mean, again, you know, our emphasis at TNVC has always been to educate as much as possible. You know,
we had this conversation earlier. Yeah.
So, you know, I genuinely love sharing all of this information. I'm not done with that information page. I had hoped that it would be ready by vSHOTT, but I ran out of time because I'm kind of all over the place. And so Augie Kim did not get the information page on the TAD completed in time for vSHOTT, so that is forthcoming. But hopefully that will answer a lot of the questions that people have on the TAD. Which one of those questions is what are the differences? So I mean, again, the biggest major difference is the fact that you know it doesn't have all the same. It doesn't have the ATAC networking capability and the augmented reality features that the E-Cody is capable of. You know, I've said many times before, whether it's on social media or AR15.com or whenever it comes up and whenever people ask me about like augmented reality systems and everything like that. So, I mean, people were asking about the PSQ-36, the Fusion goggles, and the FGE, and these are all very expensive systems. They are not inexpensive at all. However, when you start talking about getting into augmented reality systems, the goggle is the cheap part of the system.
It becomes stratospheric.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
the price of having, and I mean, we've talked back and forth with them because I know the questions are going to get asked about like CivTac and stuff like that, which is the civilian version of ATAC that some people have messed around with. Theoretically, the E-Cody should be able to tie in with that, but there's some, you have to. It's a lot of stuff, and I would be lying if I said that even first of all, I never was a commo guy or a signal guy or a network guy. I know how to use a radio. I know how to program a radio.
Yeah.
There's even a time when I knew how to use an ANCD, though if you handed me one now, I would have no idea what I was doing with it, but
I was. I handed you and say, hey, make this work.
But, so I'm not the commo guy. We will have some people who are pretty smart on commo coming on later on tonight. But I was not the commo guy. I don't fully understand personally how to make it work with CivTac. But a lot of those capabilities, I think for understandable reasons, are also not fully available, to the commercial market either.
I'm a quick story about combo stuff. I'm a very good brother. I love him very much. He always had to stay near me because I kept my radio on my back and I'd say, Oscar, switch me on, because I just couldn't stand it. I'm not a combo person either, not by a long way.
Provisions to power the TAD with an external battery pack, so it's absolutely something that's in the works, and we are hoping that it will release right about the same time, or maybe a little bit after the full release of the TAD. It's and it will be something that can be an add-on to the initial version of the TAD. It's not going to be something where we roll out one version and then 3 months later it's like, okay, now you need to buy a whole new version to have this capability. It will be a retrofittable capability. Somebody did ask specifically about the PSQ-36s that I mentioned before. Those are the Fusion goggles and the Fusion Goggle Enhanced. There are some gray market ones floating out there, but at the end of the day, PSQ-36 is kind of a dead system. It's enormously complex system to not just the technology of it, but apparently, and I guess to build. I went up to the to L3's Londonderry facility, and they were talking about they had finally convinced DoD to start sunsetting the last
they were having a pizza party.
The existing systems, because and they were saying that it's such a pain. And they are still out there, but they're sunsetting kind of, so it's kind of almost a replacement by attrition kind of situation.
I think the key part of that question is a feasible price point. Probably not.
Yeah. Well, so anyways, PSQ-36 is no longer a thing. I do know that there's some thoughts in terms of development, both in kind of the purely commercial realm as well as adaptations of existing systems, but it's hard to put a timeline. It's hard to put an expectation on when that'll be or what the projected cost of that's going to be. It's certainly going to be it's probably still going to be a pretty pricey system compared to even just a straight up pair of NVGs.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, complexity does that.
Yeah. Well, but I think that there are the commercial night vision market's been growing in a huge way. So
Yeah.
I think that there is definitely more interest in kind of starting to maybe not, well, cater may or may not be a right word, but kind of developing more
Address.
things,
Yeah.
for that market
For the higher
space
end,
besides just the straight DoD stuff.
I know. I will say, after retiring and coming out, of course, I had no idea what anything cost. I really didn't. Pelt doors I thought were $20. I had no idea. There was a Vidmar with boxes of them, so I took this one when this one broke.
And the people that buy surplus gear love you for
Yeah,
that.
that's exactly right. So I was shocked when I got out, and night vision was as popular as it was then, and that's been a few years ago, and it's gone parabolic since then.
Yeah.
It's really done exceptionally well. It's fascinating to me, fantastic actually, very, very good.
So I think we've got our speaking of all of these fusion, this fusion stuff and all of this technology. We've got Mary Emmerson from the Sterling Foundation, but I first met her when she was with Optics One, and so she actually I think knows all about the TAD as well. But Mary's now working for the Sterling Promise Foundation. So we've got a quick presentation, and we're going to have Mary on to talk a little bit about what the Sterling Promise Foundation is and what they do.
All right. Oh, having some audio issues. I can't hear you guys, but maybe, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to, but can you hear me okay? I can't hear you guys, but if you can hear me, just nod your head yes, and I'll start my spiel. Okay, good. Anyways, so thank you guys for having me today. I really appreciate it. I've been floating around the tactical defense industry for almost a decade now. I had the pleasure of working at Gentex Corporation and then at Saffron Optics One, and I currently now work for another company called OKSI. So, in addition, there's the audio. Okay, I can hear everyone now. So, in addition to, yeah, all right, we're good. So, last year I had the pleasure of hosting the first ever fundraiser for the Sterling Promise Foundation. It was a fantastic inaugural fundraiser, and we were able to raise over $43,000. So, anyone tuned in is probably wondering what the foundation is all about. So, I can share that with you. So the foundation got started just shortly after April 2021. Staff Sergeant Scott Sterling passed away after a very heroic battle with colorectal cancer. He served in the 75th Ranger Regimental Reconnaissance Detachment and 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta. So that was his military career. And then when he came out, he worked for L3 Insight at the time, and then Gentex Corporation. So the Sterling Promise Foundation, it's a nonprofit dedicated to ensuring that veterans are able to live long, healthy, fulfilling lives after their careers within the U.S. Special Operations Forces. And they're doing that through early cancer screenings and awareness campaigns. So what we're doing coming up in May is, for those who are attending SOF Week, which is formerly known as SOFIC down in Tampa, Florida, we are hosting our second fundraiser, and it is on Tuesday, May 9th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Westin, which is right outside the SOF Select Ballroom for those who are familiar with the layout of SOFIC. So how we're going to raise the money is there's going to be an online silent auction, which in addition to those attending the fundraiser in person, it's also going to be hosted online. And it's a really awesome chance to score some incredible tactical gear like OpsCore helmets, Scuba Pro dive gear, PVS 14s, custom Oakley eyewear, custom plate carriers, laser rangefinders, rucksacks, and so much more. I mean, it's going to be a great offering. And I'm sure most people tuned in would love to have some more of that gear I'm mentioning. So I will say that there is also a specialty silent auction item. Sig Sauer has gifted the foundation to auction off 2 collectible surplus pistols from their vault. These pistols are a set of matching serial number M17 and M18 pistols that were issued to the U.S. Army in return for specific upgrades. So they are known to be extremely rare and highly collectible. So pay attention definitely to SIG social media accounts, along with these other kind of tactical brands we've discussed, because they're going to be promoting the foundation, promoting the silent auction, and it's a really awesome chance to, like I said, score some gear and have your money go to a wonderful place taking care of our nation's veterans. So yeah, that's pretty much the high-level overview of the Sterling Promise Foundation. At the event, the founder, Christina Sterling, Scott's wife, is going to be announcing some pretty incredible partnerships that have been coming along thanks to our fundraising and kind of activism in this space. So.
Excellent, thank you, Mary. And we at TNVC we're very proud and happy to be able to support and help to get the word out about the fantastic organization and the work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, I can't thank you guys enough, one, for offering up this platform today to talk about the foundation and participating with us, as well as in a sponsorship category at the fundraiser. So you guys are awesome. You've been good to me over the years, and, I really appreciate it. So look forward to chatting with you more about it.
All right.
Oh, and I wanted to add that one more thing. If anyone listening today, wants to learn more about the foundation, get in touch with me, or is interested about the event at SOF Week, you can find me on LinkedIn under Mary Emmerson. So I'd love to connect with anyone that would like to.
And we can put that information in the description as well when we archive
Perfect.
this and list this presentation. So.
Great. Yeah, I can give you my email address and whatnot, and that'll be a perfect way for people to get in touch if they want.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks, everyone. Oh, you did get a little divot in there.
I got it cut.
No, I mean, and what I'll say is that there are tons and tons of great organizations out there that are doing so much great work. Don, I know mentioned SOCF yesterday as well. Just so many so many organizations, so many people out there, really trying to help out help out our veterans. It's all of the kind of just crazy things that they all went through over the last over the last several decades.
Decades.
Yeah, I mean, and then just bringing awareness to. I mean, so I don't want it to obviously we invited Mary on and Sterling Promise Foundation is one of those foundations that we it was one of many foundations and organizations that we support and that we want to that we work with, but obviously there's also kind of a relationship with some of the things that he had done in the industry to a lot of the stuff that a lot of the things that we talk about that we use he's directly responsible for or worked on or worked with.
It's an interesting thing when we talk about those decades that you mentioned, the last few terrible decades in those terms. We saw, as you mentioned, a pretty good leap in technology, and I think what people like that are doing are kind of looking back at the real cost of those things, which is in human lives, really. And it's not just the lives we lost there, the 8,000 people that we lost there. It's the effect of prolonged stress, and all of the things that that arduous service gives you, and we all have a responsibility to them. I'm so very, very glad that people like that exist to do those things.
Yeah, I mean, and there's, just the amount of just kind of experience and knowledge that kind of gets lost as a result of, and again, whether it's kind of recurring or chronic health problems, whether like cancer or even, veteran suicide and all of those things. I mean, it's just, not to get maudlin. I know that everybody is wanting to talk. I know that everybody. I know that everybody tuned in to exactly talking about the technology and talking about the future and the equipment. I mean, again, it's been kind of what we've been talking about. Pretty much the whole time up until now is the human factor of this and
all of this. I mean, if you think about prior to the last few decades, what this would look like, it wouldn't have looked like this. And again, it comes with a cost that we just may not be. But anyway, but too late. You made it more than that.
Well, I mean, again, important important developments in the future. I think again, it's important to acknowledge the costs and the legacy of the past to that, and to recognize and acknowledge the sacrifices that are made in order to make all that possible.
And I mean, most importantly, M17 and M18. I bet that's from the selection process for those guns.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly. And there's also lots of lots of free and cool gear that you can get. It sounds like let's bring this back up slowly. Talking about free gear and
that's the host job.
and the cool stuff.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, you got some projects coming up as well, don't you?
I do, yeah. So I've got a podcast coming soon. I'm really looking forward to that. It's the kind of the idea is the long road. So everybody's got a long road. We just talked about somebody's long road, and kind of what springboards in that in that long road led you to where you are. What makes you exceptional? What made you exceptional?
Yeah.
What idea? What decisions did you come to in those moments that allowed you to be exceptional? Kind of thing. So anyway, it's Forward Impact TV, and we've got some. We'll. I think we'll talk about it a little bit in a little bit about the website or the address and that kind of thing. I think it's Forward Impact TV. I think she just put it up on the thing. I'm acting like it's my idea, but it wasn't. ForwardImpact.tv is what it is. Yeah, so you can find out more information there about it. That was a plug, by the way.
Yeah. And again, we're trying to we're trying to bring the mood up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's funny.
And producers are, of course, reminding me once again that speaking of free stuff, we've got free stuff for you guys. Lots of free stuff. So make sure that you register. That you register at TNVC.com vSHOT. This is your last chance for this year's vSHOT. We are going to try and do more these live presentations and some of these special presentations. But for vSHOT, if you want to win cool shit like this custom TNVC rifle, it does not include. By the way, does not include the optic.
I don't see an optic. What are you talking about?
But make sure that you register at tnvc.com/vSHOT, vSHOTT.
Who did the Circo on that? That's really good.
So that was done by, Cobalt.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
They're a fantastic company. I really like them a whole lot. Aaron Quinn told me the genesis of, kind of the diameter of this. It was a golf club. Thank you. Now I can talk about it. That's good. Yeah, they're easy to hide. Yeah, he said it was a golf club that made him because it's perfect. I don't know, as you hold it, you're like, something's different about that. And it was one of those, stay up too late at night and get the putter help thing. That's where it came from. How cool is that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe I ruined something for him there, or made it better. I'm not sure. But
yeah, Aaron's like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually, he's so cool. It would be just monotone. Like, hey, man, I really not say that. But anyway, I love their rifles. I have a pretty high round count on my work gun, which is a Cobalt Professional. And no issues whatsoever. Fantastic thing. So register, for God's sake.
TNVC.com/vSHOT. vSHOTT.
You have a voice for radio. vSHOT. I can't do that. So
I think that's more a question for you. So
my work gun is a Cobalt Professional. I've got two. But the one I use primarily is a Cobalt Professional, and it's pretty simple. I really, I forget the optic. No, I don't. I've got a Comp 5 on it. I use a light and an Appeal, PEC 15, because it's pretty simple. It's very, very simple.
Yeah.
I know it. It works, and if you're around me very much, you'll hear me say I like what works, and all those things work. And that thing goes bang every time I touch that thing, and everything else involved.
And also not when you don't touch that thing.
Absolutely.
Which also a very important thing to have.
There was a joke there. You're welcome for me not getting it. Yeah, I love the rifle. I really do. It's one of those things. It's one of those just good things that you just want in your hand. I find when I'm traveling without it, when I'm just doing a pistol class or something, I'm thinking, I wonder what she's doing. I'm kidding. I know. That's weird.
Yeah, I do so I pass that question off to you in part because I get that question pretty frequently. Like people ask well, what do you use, or what would you use, or what would you get? And so I got. So there are two directions that first of all I'll usually go with that. One of them is that just kind of especially when people are talking about night vision, but also what I use on my guns and stuff. And I'll have to admit I have a decent number of guns that are set up in various different ways. But a lot of times I'll be testing a piece of equipment, I'll be swapping things out, and then I also just kind of try not to, one of the things that I have found, specifically when it comes to accessories that have to do with night vision is, and once again we're returning to the psychological aspects. Sometimes you'll develop a preference to something just because you're more used to it.
Well, I think most of the time you do.
Yeah. So I try. There's things about it that I can't help. And that's why, I've got malls, NGALs, raids, just all the cool stuff, but I'm not gonna lie, I still really love the Appeal.
It works,
it's just, I'm so, lots of cool products out there, lots of cool features and everything like that. And there's some definite things that you know, I will say are clear improvements to the older generation. But like in AtPL, I mean, I just grab it in the middle of the night, in the dark.
Yeah.
And I just know I can just make it do what I want it to do, and I know it.
And they don't fail. I mean, they very, very seldom fail. The complexity, as you say, is, I just, for me, man, equipment's, especially equipment I'm going to use at night.
Well, and that, so that goes to my, you know, kind of goes to my other point, which is, like, I don't test guns. I don't, like, test, you know, that's not kind of what, like you said, as long as it goes bang, as long as it does what I need it to, you know, it is kind of the platform, the vehicle for you know, what other things are that you know, I'm looking to work at. I mean, I think that you know, again, here I am, CEO of TNVC, trying to sell everybody on the coolest new gear, and I'm saying that, like, you know, stop getting hung up on the specifics of the gear.
Well, I mean,
what
so,
do you do with the gear? Does it
exactly
work?
Yeah. So I kind of look at it as a hammer, right? So a hammer that makes you work harder is not a good hammer. You know what I mean? But a hammer that can make my job less and maybe even expand me into, you know, better work or something. Hey, that works, and that's what I'm looking for. So any of this real estate on the gun has to earn its keep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so anything I put on there has to earn its keep. If it doesn't make my life simpler, if it creates processing problems, a holster. I see this all the time. Guys will go to their holster and fiddle with it, and they'll fiddle with it for the whole class. And I'm saying, hey, that holster's trying to tell you something. It's not for you. You know what I mean? Yeah, take it off. Get one that works. You know, same thing with every piece of equipment. You know, that's my work pistol up there, and it's just as simple as I can possibly get it. You know what I mean? I don't have any Wazoo irons on it. Actually, it doesn't have irons on it. It's got a rear one, not a front one.
Well, I mean, you know, Aimpoint's so reliable. What do you need? What do you need them for?
Yeah, of course. You saw that. It was pretty good. But anyway, it's simple and it works, and you know, it's got to be simple for me. You know what I mean? You know, I'm lacking in capacity.
So Chris, our senior director of sales, wants to know when we're hitting Waffle House, because he's heading in from Arizona. So don't worry, Chris, we still got a couple of hours. That's after the virtual circle bar. That's after, you know, we've had some beers and some White Claw and, you know, all that good stuff.
I'm not taking White Claw. Oh, here's the question.
Yeah, this is literally something that we talked about before outside, off the presentation.
Which I think was a great answer. I'm not sure it was true, but I think it was a great answer.
So, will Gen 4 tubes ever be a thing? I am not the person who makes that determination. That determination is made by, you know, the United States Army. If you ask some companies, Gen 4 has already been here, and Gen 4, you know, has happened several times already. You know, Gen 4, 4th gen, whatever you want to call it. But what we, you know, typically recognize as Gen, you know, 0, 1, 2, and 3 are classifications determined by the U.S. Army.
Based on requirement, right?
Based on requirements, but I mean, it's also based, well, and there's also, you know, components of the technological architecture.
Okay.
So, you know, now we are getting down the technical rabbit hole, but there's the, you know, the multi-alkali versus gallium arsenide photocathodes. And anyways,
I'm gonna fall asleep.
All of that is to say that, you know, it's a very linear progression, 0, 1, 2, 3. And I just, you know, will there ever be a Gen 4 that the U.S. Army declares? I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe some acquisitions officer will need another bullet point and say, you know, I designated Gen 4.
But it's Pyrrhic. It'll be Pyrrhic. I mean, it won't be. I mean, that won't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like it's the progression of visual augmentation. I mean, and that even goes to, you know, something that's been around, you know, that's been around the military, been around the DoD for a long time. But I think that more and more people, even in the commercial market and the law enforcement market, are picking up on is that we no longer even really call it night vision anymore. So up at Fort Belvoir, it used to be NVESD, Night Vision Electronic Systems Directorate. No longer it goes by that name anymore. No, So it's like the C5 ISR RTI research. But anyhow, it's mostly everything has gone to this kind of broader category of visual augmentation systems. And that's why the IVAS is the integrated visual augmentation system. So VAS, visual augmentation systems, I think reflects the fact that it's no longer a straight line of development. It's it's expanded in such a huge kind of way, and
What kind of spectrum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the tech, and the technology development is no longer centralized in the way that it was, decades ago when they were developing those things, and one of the things that I had mentioned, you listen to all of the different proponents, Air Force, Army Aviation, Army, Army Maneuver and lethality, and then SOCOM, and everybody's kind of giving their wish list of what they want their next generation of visual augmentation systems technology to be, and they want, sometimes they want completely different things. Sometimes they want completely opposite things. So, it's just hard to fit what's currently going on in the visual augmentation systems field into that kind of linear progression anymore. What are you going to call what are you going to call Gen 4? Is you going to call, is fusion technology Gen 4? Is digital
that's
Gen
a great
4?
question. That always occurred to me was, if we're writing this based on requirement, well, then that probably would have done it. Because it's acute. It fixes something dramatically. So that seems like it would have been. So that's the best answer I've ever heard for that. That's very good.
Yeah.
I'm a long way here to get that.
But at the same time, I'm not I'm not ruling out the fact that someday, somewhere, some colonel needs that evaluation bullet point.
Exactly right.
And is going to say, you know what? I just arbitrarily, I'm going to call this. I'm going to call this Gen 4.
Right, and I'm going to give it my name.
So in that case, who knows what Gen 4 will be.
It's pretty interesting because we're unyoking ourselves from that linear progression, which is it was a limitation really when you think about it, given the context of, like you said, what the F-35 pilot needs versus what Private Stuffy needs. They're vastly different. So
and I think that as we've, I think it's military history in general. For a while it was just like you got infantry and cavalry, and that's about all that you worry about. And then how many MOSs do we have now, and how many different areas of specialization?
Right. We have Gen 4 boots and Gen 4 saddles.
It's not it's not a one size fits all solution for anybody. There's even just straight up image intensified night vision systems. There's several different programs going on in parallel for those. There's NVGs for there's NVGs for special operations, there's NVGs for aviators, there's NVGs for conventional close combat forces, there's NVGs for Marine Corps infantry battalions, there's NVGs for service support folks, and they all all becoming more and more specialized.
So here's a question, because this has always occurred to me when I was thinking about the next generation coming along. So do you think, being much more informed than this, do you think that logic-based or processor-based technology will ever completely displace image intensification? So in other words, I shouldn't say image intensification, but like photonic multiplication versus reading the information that comes in and enhancing it some other way, digitally.
Well, so and again, this has come up every single night. Well, I mean, the digital night vision questions, always digital night vision questions, because digital night vision has been 5 to 10 years away for the last 30 years. It really has. I mean, digital night vision technology, and we touched on this before when we were talking about battery packs and everything like that.
Flat to your face.
But I mean, right now, one of the big issues with digital night vision is the SWaP-C for it. So it's the size, weight, and power. It's the amount of power relative to the capability that you get. I mean, just analog is just too damn efficient and too damn good these days.
Those dang Germans, 1948 or whatever.
But so I mean, digital is coming at some undetermined point in the future. Digital will exist. Well, I mean, digital does exist, I should say.
Exactly.
But I mean, I don't have any doubt. I mean, the technological infrastructure and the resources and what you need to build analog image intensifier tubes. I mean, there's less than a half a dozen companies in the world that make image intensifier tubes. Like, it is not easy to do, and so it's almost it's practically inevitable that it will have to go to because it's not like it's. I mean, I don't want to say it's not long-term sustainable, because I think analog night vision tubes will be with us for quite some time, for a long
essentially
term.
60 years, right?
But I mean, it is easier to produce, to produce digital things.
Yeah.
So we have had a couple more. We have had a couple more questions come in. This is so. This is an interesting question, and we do get it every now and again. And we, this is not an election year, but I think we're coming up on it pretty soon. So we always tend to start getting these questions around about election years. But it's so. Do you see any push from government entities to prohibit citizens from owning night vision and/or thermal devices?
Which citizens? Was it here or in Afghanistan? Oh, sorry, keep going.
So, not all that much. And obviously, if you are in the audience, you are watching TNVC's vSHOTT. If you are the type of person who is committed enough to be here on night 3 to listen to me talk, night vision and thermal equipment is something that is very near and dear to your heart, and probably close to the top of your the top of your attention span. Night vision and thermal so far is still, as far as the political sphere, the political spectrum has gone, kind of flown under the radar. Is that going to become more common? I will say, since the invasion of Ukraine began, since the conflict in Ukraine began, I've had a lot more people start asking me about night vision that are just outside of the tactical industry, as a whole, because there is, more information being put out there now, just in kind of the mainstream media news about needing night vision devices and using night vision devices. So, I think it is becoming higher profile.
I think it's just general readiness, and there's an uncertainty. Hemlines are dropping on the skirts, and so everybody's getting a little more worried. And I think my business is the same way.
But so I guess the answer to that question is, in the immediate sense, do I see have we heard anything about that? No, not really. But at the same time, night vision, thermal, you know, and even optics don't really necessarily have kind of any kind of true protections, any kind of like constitutional protections, you know, in the same way that firearms do, and even so, as we all kind of know, those rights are, you know, very much in heavy contention right now,
And will be.
and will be into the future.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, we have Adam Kraut, the executive director of the Second Amendment Foundation, with us. We're going to run a quick video presentation from the Second Amendment Foundation. Then we're going to have Adam come on and talk a little bit about what he does and what the Second Amendment Foundation is doing to help protect our rights and freedoms.
Beautiful segue. That was gorgeous.
Nice.
Hey guys.
That's good. Hey.
Hey Adam, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So tell us about the Second Amendment Foundation, and tell us a little bit about you, and you know what we and the audience can do to help.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start briefly with me. I'm a lawyer by trade. I started practicing law back in 2014. My entire realm of practice has been in the firearms world. Done everything from representing individuals to industry members, ATF revocation hearings, compliance, you know, court cases dealing with Second Amendment rights, and things of that nature. Got into the nonprofit world back in August of 2019. Used to work at a different group for about 3 years, and I started at the Second Amendment Foundation this past November as the executive director. So I'm fortunately or unfortunately intimately familiar with a lot of the litigation going on in the world on this issue. So, you know, the Second Amendment Foundation was started back in 1974 by Allen Gottlieb, and for almost 50 years, next year will be the 50th anniversary, they've been kind of leading the way in the court system in the legal world as far as trying to educate as well as, you know, secure, restore, and expand Second Amendment rights. So there's been a number of cases over the years. SAF has been involved in over 250 since its inception. That includes cases where it was a plaintiff, so the party bringing the lawsuit, funded lawsuits where that wasn't an appropriate thing for it to do, or filing an amicus brief in a case that wasn't their case. We have a Supreme Court victory, which was McDonald versus City of Chicago, the case that followed Heller 2 years later, incorporating the Second Amendment against the states through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. And right now, we've got about 46 active cases challenging a whole swath of different things, everything from sensitive places, post-Bruin, you know, where you can carry a gun is going to be the next big thing, and some of the restrictions around carry. So we're heavily involved in that. A number of age-based bans, so 21-year-old, or well, those under 21, 18 to 20-year-olds being able to purchase firearms and carry firearms, assault weapon ban challenges in a number of states, magazine ban challenges, a bunch of stuff in California, and you know, probably most recently ATF's regulatory overreach as it relates to the frames and receivers and the pistol braces as well. So we've got no shortage of stuff going on here.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a target-rich environment, I would guess you'd call it. As a gunfighter at night. Yeah, so interesting.
Yeah,
What's the most
certainly
significant to you right now?
Go ahead. Well,
We
depends
got
where
a
you
little
look,
bit
right?
of delay. So the question was, what is the most significant of the issues of our attacks,
Yeah, of the cases that
targets
you're working.
going on with you right now?
I think that's a matter of perspective, right? I would think, you know, people in states like California, Delaware, New York that have assault weapons bans, they would say, well, it's assault weapons, clearly. They're also affected by, you know, regulations and laws that deal with carry. You know, the young adults thing is becoming more intense issue area as more states are starting to pass laws, blocking 18 to 20-year-olds from being able to even purchase a lot of long guns that they otherwise would have been able to purchase prior to 2 years ago. So I think really it's a matter of perspective as to what the most important issue area is, from somebody who is dealing with the law stopping them from being able to do something that is constitutionally protected. Now, having said that, I think if we look at it in a broad picture, Heller said you have a right to bear arms or keep arms in the home. It also said you have a right to bear arms. Bruin really came back and said you have a right to bear arms. And I think right now where you're going to see a lot of litigation is going to be revolving around carry and restrictions on where you can carry, the permitting process, the fees associated with it, things of that nature. But really kind of the door is open for a lot of different things.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, very, again, as I said in the introduction, I mean, the theme of vSHOT Day 3 is always about the future, and this is, I would say, I would think is something extremely important to the future. So Adam, I mean, I think one of my big questions that I always have, and I think that a lot of people have, I mean, that tend to be aware of organizations like yours and other organizations that are out there doing activism and trying to protect our our Second Amendment rights and kind of help to preserve those for future generations is. What can our audience members, what can individual people do to help?
Fair question. So there's obviously a two-pronged approach, right? There's the law hasn't been passed yet, and the legislature's considering it. So in that context, I've always encouraged people as an individual to contact your representatives and voice, what your position on that issue is, because at the end of the day, they're supposed to represent you. Doesn't always work. Sometimes the legislature's just ram it on through anyway, and that leaves us with the court system. And that's where we come in. Like I said, we have about 46 active cases. Obviously, in order to be able to do what we do, money is what drives the world in any different number of contexts. Litigation is not cheap at all. I think last year we spent close to $2 million on legal. And you can find all that information on our website. We disclose our financials. There's an audit done every year. So we're very transparent about where money is spent and how it's spent, because, it's important for us to be good stewards of our donors' money. So to that end, certainly in any way that your listeners or customers can support financially, that's certainly one way. The second way that I would say is, just tell the world about us. Go check out our work. It's all out there. You can read our briefs, our pleadings. You can see our success in the court system. And if you like what you're doing, like what we're doing, rather, tell your friends, make the world aware of what we're doing, and tell them to check us out so they can, get in tune, get some information, and, potentially become a supporter or a member or a donor. All that stuff is, good stuff and helps us continue to pursue our mission. It allows us to educate the public more broadly, which is also part of our mission. And it gives you some information to share with your friends and those that might have a differing viewpoint as to why this is the way it is. It's, one of the things with the constitutionality of it is you encounter a lot of, well, I feel this way in opposition to it, and trying to bridge that gap of, well, your feelings versus this is what the Constitution says and this is how it has to be examined. It's helpful at times in an argument, but also you're speaking two different languages, and logic versus emotion isn't exactly, they're not compatible all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's really why we have a constitution, right? I mean, it's a foundational document.
You would think. Yeah, I mean, it kind of
presumably
it kind of it spells it all out, right? It gives you the baseline, and that's the floor. That's not the ceiling, but that's the floor of you can't go any lower than this. And the fact that, we're seeing this arise in any number of different constitutional contexts as to, well, I just don't like that. Sorry, this is what you're bound to.
Yeah. I like that. It's the floor, not the ceiling. I always think that, the Constitution always comes across to me as a document saying you can't go any farther than this to the left, but it's not really limiting me to the right. So if you could just get out of my way, and I'll go do my thing. I'm sure that there's people.
Yeah, it was written by people far smarter than I. Anyway, they had a lot of foresight into that. So.
So how do we become members?
Yeah, also a very good question, because I did not tell you any of the information of where you could do that. So our website is, I used to be really good at this too. I swear, I used to be able to plug stuff all the time.
Me too, man.
The website, the website is saf.org. So S is in Sam, A is in Adam, F is in Frank.org. You can check us out on social media. We're starting to get that rolling again. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I believe LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube channel. So you can check out all that stuff, get subscribed so you can get some updates. We have an email list that goes out, email alerts that you can sign up for on the website. And again, everything related to press releases and documents can be found on the website as well. So, and if not, shoot us an email. We'll get you stuff.
So Adam, this is an off the cuff, kind of unrelated personal question. But I mean, what do you think? Since you mentioned getting back on social media with the Second Amendment Foundation and everything like that, I mean, what do you think about like all of the shadow banning that's been going on and the mass migration? I mean, TNVC has had a Twitter since like 2013 that we haven't used in quite a while, but I think we're looking at starting to get back on it as well. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? Again, like I said, this is just an off-the-cuff, non-official personal question,
but it's official. So
I'll give you my personal opinion on it. This is in no way representative of the organization or any of the views it may hold on this.
There it is.
Disclaimer. Yeah, there's the disclaimer.
He is a lawyer.
It is interesting to see when you have tech companies, and this has come up in the context of several different lawsuits. I think. It starts with a P, something university that was on YouTube. I can't recall the name of it, but they were essentially putting out educational. PragerU. Thank you. Yes, and they had sued on the idea that because YouTube kind of dominated everything, it became in theory a public square, and because of that, you couldn't restrict speech in the public square, and it's a really interesting debate when you think about it without the real world consequences. You put it in a very academic context, right? You have a giant company that comes in, they create a platform where almost everybody uses it, and then they decide, well, okay, this speech is okay, that speech is not okay. And at what point does it go beyond, a private company and become a public square?
Public trust.
It's a double-edged sword. Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Obviously, people who are having their messages suppressed, particularly if they subscribe to a certain kind of political thinking, or, that isn't, by whoever owns it. Of course, they're going to say, well, public square, right? You're suppressing our message. And the other side's going to say, well, private entity, right? And it's been fascinating to watch people kind of take contradictory positions, but I'm not a First Amendment expert by any stretch of the imagination. I've seen some of the arguments on it. Best I could tell you that I find it to be fascinating. I do think there are problems with the way that speech has been suppressed on these platforms, but at the same time, I don't know if that's from a constitutional perspective beyond their reach. And that's my personal opinion. I would love to see that litigated more so I can read writings from people who are more well-read than I and better suited to discuss that topic. But it has been interesting to see, and certainly, again, it has real-world consequences, right? TNVC, for instance, it might not be easy for you to tell all of the world, hey, we just got in this, awesome new set of binos from wherever, and oh, by the way, super game technology, you should totally check it out. Likewise, we have the same problem of, well, we're suing this municipality over this thing and telling the world that, hey, we're doing this on behalf of your constitutional rights. So I don't know where that line gets drawn, but it is, again, from an academic perspective, it's interesting to look at. From a real world perspective, it definitely is annoying.
Yeah. Well, I'm missing my millennial dopamine rush as we've been shadow banned, and I'm not getting it anymore.
Showing up. People love you, Augie. That's coming. I think that question, in a broader context than just the Second Amendment, that question is going to be answered soon enough. And I tend to lean towards it's a public trust, and it's such an interesting thing. The basis of liberty is private property. So I kind of fall on both sides of that. It's a fascinating question.
It is a tricky one, right? If you do believe in private property rights and you think that is something to that matters, where does that at some point where does that line get drawn? Things of that nature.
Eminent domain is where it gets drawn.
Yeah. Well, and I think for us, it's very interesting. And when I say us, I mean by TNVC, because TNVC is, I guess, theoretically not. TNVC doesn't sell guns.
Right.
We are not a firearms company. We're not a gun company, but
you're dependent.
We're kind of
it's hard to
gun
say
adjacent.
It's hard to say that.
It's very much related to the things that we do, and as I said in the lead into this, I mean, we don't even have a Second Amendment for night vision, but it's so we kind of go the way of the world, as far as we're in the tactical industry. We're firearms adjacent. What did you say?
Available.
Even about firearms available.
Well, I would say you could get into the outdoor industry, but you're gonna kill half your market by doing just that.
Yeah, night hiking doesn't really appeal.
Well, I mean, we have done some of the explorations, looking at some of the alternative alternative applications for night vision and stuff like that. But I mean, we are still tactical night vision company. The core of it is still always going to be this thing that we do. Yes, I might try to sell DNR on you can do your sea turtle research at night, right? You know that, right?
Good luck, Augie.
Hey, they got the grant money for it, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah. If you want money, save turtles.
If there was only a way that I could convince that I could convince politicians that night vision would somehow prevent climate change.
It's green. It's green. That's funny.
Sometimes.
Yeah, right. Just tell them it'll save them, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if you can do more at night, you need to use less electricity.
That's true. Very good
So,
point.
all right, there you go. This is lightning in a bottle here, where we're coming up with ideas.
I have a question for you.
I'll go ahead.
What is your favorite lawyer joke?
Oh man, there's so many of them. What do you call a lawyer at the bottom of the ocean?
I don't know.
A good start. You can submit your lawyer jokes in the comments below.
Send them to was it safv.com?
Yeah. You can find my email somewhere.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Adam. We surely appreciate having you. And again, as we talk about the future of the technology and the future of the equipment and the future of the end users who are using this equipment, I mean, this is a very important and fundamental part of it as well.
Yeah, I'll join. I really will. I think it's a great thing. I've been looking for a place to put that effort in my life at the demise of some of the older folks that are doing this. So it's good. Yeah, it's good. It's good to hear you.
Well, Very much appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you guys about the Second Amendment Foundation, and for your support with everything. And certainly, we hope that people take a look, see what we're doing. If they like it, join up, maybe throw a couple bucks our way, tell their friends. But all that's great stuff. So appreciate the opportunity, guys.
Yeah, keep at it, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
And I think so. So we will just like for the Sterling Promise Foundation, we'll put the link and the we'll put the link in the description for the presentation as well.
That's a good thing. That felt like a very sober approach to something that is usually, I mean, most of the time when someone's trying to selling what they're doing, it almost has a religious zeal to it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that didn't. That seemed like a very sober approach. I like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've known Adam for a while now. I mean, I like him too. We kind of had to. Usually when you have, these kind of like organizations and stuff like that, like they can't wait to start asking for money.
Yeah.
It's like, we all kind of know that. Obviously litigation, lawyers, all of that stuff is pretty expensive stuff. Eventually, you have to get to asking for money. But
I didn't want to say, it is very expensive. I mean, Ferraris have to be bought. I'm kidding, Adam. I'm kidding.
We're getting some more directions from our producer here. So you mentioned it before, but so tell us a little bit more about ForwardImpact.tv and what the project is.
Okay, well, I mean, the overarching project, rather, I should say, is really kind of what we're talking about. So it's a decent segue because it's the kind of all the deplatforming that's been going on of gun available folks. You know what I mean? The overarching idea that Thomas had is to find a good friendly home to host these folks. And one of the projects is this. Is the podcast that we talked about a little bit earlier, which is it's kind of it's much wider. It's not a, I don't want to say this like this, but I'm going to say it anyways. It's not a dude bro, it's not a gun bro, and it's not a vet bro podcast. It's really just real human beings that have done things. Now, I mean, we're going to have people in our industry because it's who we know. And there are people in our industry and people that are gun available that have done some pretty amazing things, and really I think the benefit of it, I hope the benefit of it anyway, is going to be to help people live their lives in a way that helps them to achieve. I should say, because that's really what I'm going to try and get at is what helped you to do this. You know what I mean? When you talk to a guy that's been through, the long walk at CAG, or you talk to the founder of DirecTV, or you talk any of these people, they've done some pretty amazing things in their lives, and I think we can all learn from those things. And that's really what I want to harvest out of that. You know what I mean? Out of these conversations, and give these people kind of a platform where a normal human being can talk to these superhumans about what they've done in their lives to make them different. So. I'm really, honestly, I'm looking forward to having conversations with people as much as I am anything else about it.
You know what I mean? It sounds really, sounds really interesting. I mean, so I noticed that you said it before, what was it that you said when Duke was struggling to get his toys before? You said it. Well, Duke the dog, Duke the Malinois was struggling for his toys, but I think what you said was what am I doing in my life that's like that?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's kind of a great sentiment. I mean, can you talk a little bit more about that?
About Duke? No, so it's things. I guess springboards. Actually, Thomas coined that. It's very good. So these springboards, these moments that occur in your life. There's a great book by Louis L'Amour. I'm gonna do this, and it's not a Western, which is kind of odd, but it happens early in American history. This guy gets shipwrecked, and he wakes up in the morning on the beach, and his life comes down to left or right on the beach. You know what I mean? The whole of his life comes down to this, and there are these moments in our lives where we are confronted with these ideas, simple as they may be in the moment. And we make these decisions, and like Frost said, it made all it makes all the difference. English major, it made all the difference. And what I really want to drill down to is those moments where, what am I doing in my life? Well, I want to arm people with, what are we doing in our lives right now that can be helped to make that left or that right? Those springboard moments where this is gonna put me in a good place, or this is gonna keep me where I'm at right now. But I think by talking to these people that have done extraordinary things, whatever they may be, they'll help us. They'll help us do that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. But you should have seen Duke the dog. He was trying to reach for his frisbee. It was very funny.
Well, he was using his. I mean, it looked like he was definitely. It was like an arm, like a child.
So bad. Yeah. Okay. So all right. So this is just coming to me as I'm thinking here. If you'd like to know more, you can put in your email address at forwardimpact.tv for updates for the launch of the podcast. Just right off the top of my head. Yeah. Anyway, if you do that, I spent all day making a website. Molly, the producer, spent all day making a website, and she just laughed really big. But there's a website you can go to, put your email address in there, and we'll let you know on the launch, and there's newsletters and all kinds of things that you would expect us to do will happen there.
Otherwise, all right. Well, so we are going to segue back into talking about the tech stuff and talking a little bit about the products and everything like that. Before we do segue into that, I want to once again take this opportunity to thank Molly and our whole Basecamp Creative Group team. They are, they are the media folks for TNVC. I joke about, the dopamine rush of seeing the likes from the Instagram page, but you know what? I don't post on the Instagram page. The Basecamp folks post on the Instagram page. So our I've said before, even with the info page for the TAD, I am all over the place, and the Basecamp folks are the ones who suffer for it. Absolutely, because because I will get all over the place, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh God, I need this to happen, or I want to do this. Can we do this? Can you? I mean, that was even how vSHOTT started in the first place, when I was just can we just make this happen?
Let's make a Vegas.
Let's just make this happen. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you guys figure out the details. And I mean, they did. They have. We
consistently Basecamp does that. Make it happen.
But so shout out, thank you to our Basecamp team and to Molly, who is behind I don't even know what you would call that. They're a command center. She is doing everything from modulating the volume of my excessive shouting at the camera, to putting up little notes for us and reminding us to do things. And
Emma standing the whole time. My back hurts watching Emma stand.
But I promised you guys that we were going to get back to, we were going to get back to tech, we were going to get back to products, we were going to get off the soapbox a little bit, just a tad.
Different soapbox.
Yeah. So, last year we introduced something that we call, it's not something that we call, it's Product of the Year. It's our TNVC Product of the Year. This year for our, I should go back and say, Product of the Year, it'd be real easy for me to say something like the TAD is the Product of the Year. And the TAD is a fantastic product. For us, it is kind of about like something new that has come up that's kind of, very, very different from what's previously been out there by a small company that's doing interesting and innovative things. Last year was last year our Product of the Year were the Nicorium wraps for NVGs. It's not necessarily a huge tech type of thing, but I mean, it was just a great kind of thing to be able to have. You know, people don't always want to spray paint their NVGs. I mean, I love spray painting shit. I spray paint everything, but that's neither here nor there.
Walls, cars.
Well, that's so. Yeah, I'm digressing, which you know I know that everybody loves. But so this is the first Cerakoted gun that I've ever owned.
I thought you were going to say that you did that paint. I was going to say no.
No. So like Cerakoted and dipped and you know all of that stuff. Yeah, I mean it looks fantastic. Like you know I've got my faux multicam-ish spray paint, which I mean I do still love spray paint, but I mean it doesn't look like that.
Yeah, no, so, that's really good.
Anyhow, I am once again getting way off track. So for 2023, our product of the year is the Disco 3.2 Discus, and we've got a short video presentation.
Here with Josh Bronson from Disco 32. Welcome, Josh. How you doing?
Great, man. How are you, Will?
Oh, excellent. You've been checking out vSHOTT this week? Or are you too busy making products to get shipped out?
No, I'll be checking in and out of it. We're staying pretty busy, but yeah, and I have a new kid, so
yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, she's awesome. But yeah, no, I'll be checking in and out just to see new stuff coming up, and I'm always interested in what you guys are up to over there.
Okay, excellent. Well, hey, we're really excited, to announce the Discus, as the product of the year, the TNVC product of the year for 2023. It's been an excellent product. It's ironic that it was literally last year's vSHOTT when this first came up, and then from SHOT Show actually. In terms of how this whole project came around, and it's been an awesome product. People love it. And if you just want to give a little bit of info about the Discus, if you want to share some background or whatever.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that, by the way. It's pretty humbling, actually. I never thought even a few years ago I'd be sitting in a facility or doing any of this stuff with Disco, but it's been very cool. And I really appreciate the opportunities from TNVC as far as being like a really mutually beneficial partner to Disco 3.2, and it's been a great relationship between our companies. So the Discus, I guess I first started thinking about Discus while I was still on active duty, and I wanted a way just to pump in some tunes to my headset, especially for like really long infill or long convoy operations, like doing anything where I was going to have that headset on for a really long time. Because the reality of it is there's like 99% boredom. There's like a lot of boredom and a lot of this stuff, and you kind of need something just to keep your mind going, but also simultaneously as a leader, especially be able to monitor the radios. So it was a bit of a technical leap for me back then to jump into it, but once we started growing the company, I wanted to revisit it, and so we did. And I wanted to, the name Discus, a lot of people ask about the name Discus, where it came from, because it's kind of
it's a cool story.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit of like a Cold War junkie, so I name a lot of our products and about after Cold War projects or programs. And so the Discus, I was reading a book called The Moscow Rules. And in it, I don't know if it was Moscow Rules or it might have been The $1 Billion Spy, one of those two books. But I was reading about a little novel product that the agency was using to do these information transfers with their assets. And it was called the Discus, and it was wireless, and it was in Moscow, and it was in the late 70s. And I thought, man, that's a really cool name for something, and kind of like a tip of the hat to those dudes who are like my heroes. I think that whole side of the house is full of some great Americans. And so, yeah, that's how Discus came about. And, it's doing pretty good. And I think a lot of, besides just for the entertainment aspect, I think a lot of law enforcement and, other agencies are using it a lot for interoperability issues. So they're using Discus to make a quick phone call to a sister agency that maybe not is on, that might not be yet on like the new Homeland Security standards for their radios. Right. So that's what's going a lot with the professional end users. I think they're using it a lot for that. I also think that they're probably listening to a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or getting yelled at. You're getting yelled at, you know.
Yeah, so that's where Discus kind of came from, and it's been pretty good. We had a lot of really great feedback, and we're really happy to be kind of honored with having the product of the year in your company. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, congratulations, Josh. No, it's a great
Thanks, man.
product. Sold a bunch of them. Any things to look forward to from Disco 32 in 2023? Anything you can share or?
We're working on. We have like a bunch of like simultaneous lines of effort going on right now. Some of them are involved like with the standard like push to talk stuff. Some of it is like some software dev stuff. So we're working on some like apps and things that I think will help specifically combat leaders in the military, just for quick references and things, planning products, and we're trying to get that tied in with in the ATAC architecture. So a lot of different stuff. Nothing coming to market immediately, but I think by summer we will have some of these projects kind of wrapped up and ready to go. There's a few things that are being tested right now. Working on a lot of issues with interoperability, especially with law enforcement, so that they can take all of this different kit they're getting from all these different places, communications kit, and make it work.
Yeah.
And then working on a project for officers that are, typically like out of radio range a lot. We get a lot of inquiries from officers, especially out west, who have these huge districts that they're operating in, and it may be just like one guy, like 50 square miles, which to me is crazy.
Oh yeah.
Says a lot about those guys' responsibility and integrity and their bravery, just being out there on their own. And we're working on some stuff to maybe help them keep in, constant communication with someone who can come help them, if something should go wrong. So
super important.
So a lot of stuff going on.
But hey, if people want to kind of keep up with what you guys have going on and like so when things come up, where can people follow you out or find you?
So we're really trying to move over to Twitter for a lot of our stuff, just based on like the kind of the atmosphere on some of the normal social media like Instagram. We'll still be on there posting, but I think they used to be our primary place. I think we're going to start moving more towards Twitter and maybe reposting to Instagram and Facebook. But anything new, we're going to post on social media, and you could follow us on Twitter. You maybe just search for Disco32. I can't remember a Twitter handle off the top of my head.
We'll put it in the description or something.
Instagram, it's Disco_32. And then Facebook, you can just search for Disco32 and it'll pop up. So
okay. Well, hey Josh, it was awesome.
Thanks, Will.
Tonight and
sure, but we really do appreciate it, and it really is pretty cool to have something be named like a product of the year. It's kind of a new thing for me to deal with.
Well deserved, Josh.
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. All right. See you.
See ya.
All right.
I know, Mom. I know.
What is he doing?
Mom, I gotta go. We're on the air.
Yeah, you
Shane,
gotta go. Come on, man. Come on.
Dude. What? All right, guys. Welcome back. So obviously we're starting our virtual circle bar, virtual panel discussion on this, the final night of vSHOTT 2023. Remember, in order to be entered for the final giveaways tonight, including the grand prize giveaway, Cobalt Kinetics CK Pro TNVC custom rifle, you need to make sure that you are registered at tnvc.com/vSHOTT. vSHOTT. This is your final warning, because we're gonna pull the names. We'll throw them into our random number generator and get some more information or do the drawings for our giveaways.
I'm excited about that. That's cool.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a killer grand prize. Yeah, it is. Those rifles are fantastic.
So I promised you guys that I said earlier that I am not a commo guy, never have been, never will be. Will here that you saw on the video presentation just now with Josh from Disco32 is our program manager for our comms program. So tell us a little bit about our product of the year this year.
Yeah, so the Discus, that's what I'm holding up right here. It's a really cool product. You know, it's what it does is it lets you connect your military style headset. That's a communication headset to your cell phone via the Discus. And so this cable right here that you're looking at, that's plugged into it. This is your down lead cable. This one in particular is a aux-core mono binaural U174 down lead. Plugs right into the Discus port here, and then it allows you to then connect your cell phone wirelessly by Bluetooth to the Discus, which then broadcasted into the headset. The mono binaural cable for the amps is the way to go, so you get it in both ears. You could select a monaural cable if you wanted to for some reason, if you just wanted it into one ear, but almost everybody's going to want the mono binaural version. But it works with Peltors, other headsets. Basically, if you got a NATO U174 down lead connector, that's what it looks like right there. It's the big plug. Plugs right into it.
We call that the short nubby one.
There you go. Now the important thing, one thing I'll point out since I got it right here, if you want to zoom back in on it, is this is an overmolded connector, and so you got to get it in there really good. A lot of guys just kind of half-ass it in there, and they're like, hey, this thing's not working, what's going on? You got to push it all the way in. You'll hear it pop, and if you look at how that looks, that's how it's going to be seated in there. So if you have a Discus, they're in stock right now, by the way. Pick them up, TNVC, we're the exclusive on the tan, $4.99 version. This matches the aux-core stuff, perfect. In stock right now, but yeah, if you get it, make sure you plug it in. If you have one of these and you're having audio issues, like where it's either low, coming in one ear, something like that, that's going to be your problem right there.
Does that make it waterproof right there?
Yeah.
Finally,
Yep, sure does. And then on the other end, I should point out, this allows you to then plug this into a push-to-talk, and so it's a pass-through, so you can have radio comms at the same time as your cell phone if you wanted to. This is really useful, like Josh mentioned in the video, especially for law enforcement in particular. A lot of times you can't be on the radio for different reasons. Who knows what it could be? It could be security issues, things like that. You can make a quick call, take a call, talk to other people that you have to, and it's just a great backup as well. And then it's, and then the way the Discus is designed is that the radio takes priority. So if you are on the phone for some reason, when you get radio traffic in, the radio is going to come over top of the cell phone. But like Josh mentioned, another cool thing for a lot of people is you can listen to music on it. So if you're going to be out at the range, I mean, I've done that. If you're going to go shoot, you're going to have your EarPro on, with your amps or whatever else you got. You can listen to music while you're shooting, having some fun. And the cool thing about it, like normal, music headphones, you can't hear shit, right? So you hear the music, can't hear nothing else. But when you have the amps turned on, and that's something to point out, is that this will work without the headset turned on. When the headset's turned on, you're still going to hear stuff through the microphone on the ear cups while you got music, which is really neat. So like if you're walking around, it tripped me out the first time I did it.
Yeah.
Where I was actually listening to music and I'm walking around, and then my dog stepped on a twig, and I'm like, holy shit, what was that? And I'm like, oh yeah. So it's a pretty cool product. It's really great. And it's just a great thing. We got a video up on the YouTube as well, and as well as on the Discus page that goes into more detail, specifics on it, things like that. So
That's cool. What's the price point on that?
these are $270.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wish I had that when I was on the force.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely valuable.
Yeah.
Is this one of my old down leads? I feel like those my cat's teeth in my
It might be.
I think it is.
But I think it's mine now.
I mean, it is. Yeah. No, I mean, we're all friends here. We share gear, but I was just looking at it while I was sitting on there. I was like, is that my fucking cat?
I should point out too. So
That's cool.
we're going to be giving one of these away as well
You
tonight.
just did.
You didn't sign up on the
Well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's have our first round of free stuff for tonight.
Yep.
In honor of our product of the year, a Discus from Disco 3.2 and TNVC.
random number
get that drum roll.
generator at work.
In the meantime, we have had some questions and comments come in about whether or not we are going to have a training program for comms. So what I will say is that when Will was talking about monaural and binaural and all that stuff, I was like, man, is this the way people think when I just start going off on a rant about
absolutely.
Well, I mean, something I'll say is that the thing with comms that's difficult is if you did a class, right, that was just an open enrollment, you're going to have all kinds of shit showing up. You're going to have a bunch of different, even though it all kind of works the same, it's not going to be a uniform type structure that you could do. So if we have an agency or something, I suppose, I'm not sure if that's something we actually really want to get into. I mean, our specialty is night vision, visual augmentation systems and things like that. So most likely, I don't think we're going to do a comms program, but it's something that we could definitely make note of.
Well, comms training program.
Comms training, I should say.
Yeah, I do think I don't know that TNVC is the right organization to do that. I mean,
I don't want to mislead people.
You know,
we're
but-
going to look into that.
But one thing we can do is put out, some more educational videos and stuff like that for the public to see.
and resources. I mean, and Josh from Disco 32 definitely is a great resource for all that stuff. I mean, obviously he's creating things like this. Dude's real smart on comms. So I do think that there's probably an increasing interest. I mean, we brought back the Woodland pattern. We've been joking about, be all you can be is back. War with Russia's back on the table. So I mean, small unit tactics and all that stuff. I mean, first of all, it is important. I mean, it's what I spent, pretty much all of my career, focused on that kind of stuff, and I've always felt that it was, an important thing. But I mean, it's definitely, I think it's more and more people are becoming, guys have gotten their card.
Hey, we're digressing. People want to hear a giveaway. Come on.
All right. So announce who gets the free stuff.
All right, so Daniel M., you are the winner of the Discus. Daniel M. We will reach out to you with some information to get from you. So Daniel M., congratulations.
Yep. Something to point out. So Daniel, you're going to get the Discus, not the down lead. Okay, so this isn't a combo package right here. So
Augie's got one though.
Just this part.
Hey, so something I should piggyback on too. So for the training aspect of it, I mean, I do answer most of the questions when it comes to comm stuff. And so the biggest thing guys struggle with is just what parts do I need to get to attach to each other. And so that part of it actually isn't that difficult once you get past all the nomenclatures and all that kind of stuff. But if you need help with it, just get a hold of me. Like everybody always gets a hold of me for stuff anyways. But you get a hold of me, will@tnvc.com or sales@tnvc.com. Just tell me what radio you got, and I'll tell you what you need for it. And then we can just take it from there. So
it's a big deal, man. The only thing I hated comms because it was such a mess. But the only thing worse than comms is no comms. You know what I mean? So you have to do it. You have to have it.
For sure.
There's no time that we circled up and came over the net that everybody was up. Somebody was like, But again,
it's like that scene from Lone Survivor, right? When he's like, "Fucking comms."
It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Yeah.
Oh, I did have a point with my digression before y'all cut me off. By the way,
Of course, you always have a point.
Yeah, I mean, it takes me a while to get there.
It's the long road.
There is a point. No, so I mean, I think that the natural question, we're sitting here talking about why TNVC is probably not going to be the one that's putting on comms training and everything like that. But I do think there's a point to be made about why is this a TNVC product? Why do we even have a comms program and everything like that? And I think to us, what we've kind of increasingly been seeing, and this goes back to discussions that we were having other nights about systems like RailLink and everything like that, is that yes, tactical night vision company, we deal primarily in the night vision goggles and everything like that. But I mean, really, just like everything else, we've been talking about IVAS, we've been talking about thermal integration and augmented reality. Like everything is becoming an integrated system.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we have kind of recognized that the comms capability is part of the integrated headborne systems solutions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we have a comms program and comms products that are specific to us.
You know, it's something to bring up too. I mean, this is important because I know a lot of times, you know, TNVC, everybody associates TNVC like they should with, you know, professional end users and things like that. But the commercial sector has really become a big player, you know, for a large part. And so comms for regular Joes, man, is a big deal. And that's what's kind of neat with the Discus is if you don't know shit about radios, you know a lot about your cell phone. And so you can use your cell phone to communicate, you know, with your headset while you're using night vision on a helmet. So that's pretty slick. And even for, you know, like there's local ham radio. So for training, there's local ham radio clubs and stuff where you can learn a whole lot about handheld ham radios. You can go really deep into it.
You can become an absolute nerd.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, but yeah,
it's
exactly.
cool. It's super cool stuff. It
Yeah,
really is, yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, for the civilian guy, whether it's like you and your buddies, you're out in 2 different side-by-sides or whatever, and you're chasing pigs or you're just dicking around, whatever. You could be using just some off-the-shelf stuff, radios you buy from Amazon for not that expensive of a price, and be up on comms, talking to each other and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
The cell phone thing is a big deal.
And you know, one thing to note with especially the ops core amps is, you know, they do have push to talks that are dual channel. You know, so you can have a down lead for your radio, you can have the other down lead connected to the Discus, and you can still have that capability in one ear or the other.
Well, that's the thing with the, you know, the amps is with the connectorized headset, you know, you got ports on both ear cups. So if you didn't want to have this thing, because it gets a little busy, if you got this and push to talk hooked up on your kit, so you could run a Discus on one ear cup with a mono binaural.
There's no interface for this, right? I mean, it's essentially fire and forget. You plug it in, forget about it.
Yeah.
So you can put it behind you or
Oh
something.
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
In fact, this thing fits great. You got to take the clip off of it, but this thing fits great inside of a TNVC Mohawk.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
yeah. So you got the bungees on the back. You can slip it in there. I've actually stuck it in the back of a Mark I Mohawk. You got to take the
Like in the battery pack.
Yeah, you just got to take. You got to take the battery sleeve that holds your AA's and 123s out, and this will slip right in there. It's the same size. And then your down lead will just come straight out the bottom of the flap. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to mount it.
That's a great counterweight.
Yeah. So, I mean, Disco is going to have a pouch, I think, later this year available as well. So if you want to have that kind of a thing that's just more dedicated, you can do that.
It's cool
too.
thing.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
Look at y'all anticipating the questions before I can even type them out on our nice little prompting board over here. So obviously we've got, you know, our normal kind of Q&A questions, you know, and once again we are still monitoring, you know, any questions that you guys have, whether it's through the website, tnvc.com/vSHOTT.
The mail.
Or you know, if you're watching on YouTube, submitting questions. All right. So what have we got? Thanks for the DTNVS I bought from you. Absolutely love them.
Awesome.
Best 10K I've ever spent. Well, thank you. Glad you're enjoying them.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You know, huge thanks to Will for the.
It's a typo.
For all the education.
Oh, yeah. I thought for a second.
Civil education. I was just going to pretend like it was an acronym and I didn't know. Like, yeah, that's very good.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Is that
We were talking about like comms, and I thought it's like his sister-in-law. I don't know. All right, huge thanks to Will for all the education and putting up with my ignorance. Oh, that's unkind to yourself. While I was waiting on my build. He never failed to answer any questions and always made sure I understood everything we discussed and so much more. Well done.
What else did you talk about, Will?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think it was like you need some, you know, some tips on the cards and stuff like that. So.
Will, are you running like therapy sessions on customer service line too?
No, you know what though? You know, it almost is therapy for some guys because you know what? It is freaking stressful for a lot of new guys. When you're first getting into this, you're trying to figure out what the hell you're going to buy. I mean, there's a lot of options. We have a lot of competitors too. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there. Guys, it's just a myriad of, I don't know what the F this is, and I don't know what this means, and all that. And you know, and you get mixed results. If you do a Google search, ChatGTP sucks for night vision questions, is what we learned. You know, and
I just learned what that was today.
Yeah. So honestly, a lot of times you just have to talk to somebody who's going to help you out. You know, I mean, we spend a lot of time talking to people, and it's not just me. I mean, I really appreciate it, but we got a lot of other people that spend a lot of time talking to people. I mean, we'll spend hours. I mean, literally hours sometimes talking to folks, and then they don't buy from us sometimes. Sometimes they do. We just want to make sure that you're getting the right stuff for you. You know, you're going to make a good, educated person.
Actually, we had that conversation a little bit earlier. You know,
Yeah.
in the military, I certainly wasn't an expert at this thing, but I would go to an expert of this
Yeah.
thing and say, "Hey, man, give me
Yeah.
make me smart on this."
Yeah.
You know, in the 5 minutes you got, and that's kind of what you guys do.
Yeah.
For
Well,
the same market.
ironically, we were BSing about this at lunch too, about AI and stuff, and it's like it becomes a point where a robot can only take you so far. You need somebody who's actually done it. You need somebody who's done it, you know, who's going to be able to actually tell you from experience, like, hey, this is what worked for me, and this is what lessons I learned, and this is like all the stuff I had to learn in blood, sweat, and tears sometimes, and then they're passing that info off to you. AI ain't gonna be able to do that shit.
Yeah, beat that Skynet.
It will be quiet.
I welcome our robot overlords.
Hey, so one thing I wanted to point out is all these viewers and the orders that have been placed online. So we kind of released a patch series at SHOT Show, and a lot of people really loved it. So right here we have 5 patches. We call it the LARP in the Park series. And the purpose behind it is obviously TNVC. We have a lot of remote employees that work all over the country. So these different places signify 5 of the main states that the employees currently live and work in. And we thought it'd be a cool idea. Yeah, there's that South Carolina. So we thought it'd be a really cool idea to release something, especially being our 18th year in business. So carrying on that from SHOT Show, we're actually releasing a sticker pack series for all the people that have been placing orders until the end of the month as a result of vSHOTT. So you may get 1, you may get 2, you may get all of them. But definitely tag us, comment, tell us how you like them. It's definitely really cool to see how we work so well together from different parts of the country.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
let us know what you think of them.
Yeah. They're cool. I like them. You know.
Are
Arizona's the best one.
are we giving away a set of these?
I think we are.
Yeah.
These right here.
Yeah.
I mean, if y'all want to collect them up and mail them, if you want to get them in August, then sure, we can do it that way. But
I'll get around.
no, guys, yeah. Anytime that TNVC ships something to you, it is not coming from me because I am really, really bad at shipping.
It'll take 6 months.
I don't really believe it exists, so I just don't do it. I'll get that to you. I'll ship it to you. I promise.
You got more questions?
That's funny.
So, Alexander C, you are the winner of a full set of all 5 TNVC LARP in the Park patches.
Cool.
Nice.
Congrats.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
really cool. Yeah.
Even though, I mean, Calgary's not the low country, but
It's kind
It's
of
close enough.
yeah, I mean, well, it's the only national park we've got in South Carolina, so we had to, we have national forests
Yeah,
and
of
national
course.
historic sites, but it's the only national park that we have, so it's inferior to the low country, but it'll do.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to do because it's already made.
And it's the only one.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all 30 acres of it.
All right, Josh wants to know who the most attractive TNVC guy is. I think Josh is just fishing for
Yeah, I was
compliments.
gonna say the answer must be Josh.
Yeah, but Josh, I'm sorry if you think it's you. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Tom. I mean, Tom is just one hell of a man.
that beard. I can only wish I could get that way.
I don't know. What are the opinions? But drop your opinion in the comments.
Nobody should come down on any side of this.
That's a dangerous request.
It really is, yeah.
All right, Knight's Armament.
When will they be making more RQE bridges and accessories? Once again, I came from the enthusiast community. I mean, I came from, the end user community as well, but the enthusiast community, and I get it. It's frustrating. You want to get your product. I mean, first of all, I will put out there, once again, if you're sick of waiting for Knight's Armament components that you've ordered from us, you are entitled to, you know, we can switch your order, we can cancel that order, there's no penalties whatsoever, because, but, you know, Knights is, and, you know, I've got my, you know, one of my Knights rifles back here, love Knights Armament products, have used Knights Armament products my entire career. Great company. They're not a night vision company, guys. They have a lot of things that need to be built. I mean, if you're like one of those guys out there with like a back order, or if you're one of those guys out there paying like $5 grand for an SR25 lower or something like that.
And more power to you.
Yeah.
Buy, you know, we're right here, just buy each of us one.
I carried one for a long time, actually. When I was in, I carried a nice
Yeah.
gun, and they're fantastic. But you know, it's one of those things. It's like ordering a custom knife.
Yeah.
You can't order the custom knife and call a guy and say, "Hey man, are you done?" You know what I mean? How much longer? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, emailing and calling like every week ain't gonna help you.
So,
Not with
yeah.
them, especially because they make things exceptionally well.
I mean, so I mean, are they going to come back? Yes, I'm pretty sure eventually. When is that going to be? Man, I don't have that answer for you. I mean, obviously we've got them on order. Whenever they are made, we will have them and we will let everybody know. I don't think we're accepting back orders for them at all, because we don't want to string you guys along that way. It's not, you know,
Hold on, I got on the phone. They said soon.
I gotta do some math for this.
What are you doing? Oh, I see what
I'm just,
you're
you know,
doing.
I'm just doing so. Okay, so this next question is, what's the highest SN signal to noise? Should be
The high serial number? I mean,
Okay, so I know what
high.
you mean. I got you. So, what's the highest signal to noise ratio a super gain tube can hit? Well, so the hard limit is basically what's 2996 FOM.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the hard limit for commercial tubes, for now is 2996 figure of merit FOM. If you don't know what that means for figure of merit, we got that question, but day one.
Yeah,
So it's basically.
I could go on.
Yeah, it's
about
basically
that.
the center resolution. Yeah. So it's basically the center resolution multiplied by the signal to noise ratio. So it's most of the super gain tubes are coming in at 72. There's been some 81s, but hypothetically, if you got a 64 center resolution tube, which I suppose you could. So if it hit the limit on that 2996, then that would be a 46 signal to noise ratio. I don't think you're going to get one like that, but I would say the highest I've seen is about 42, maybe.
I
I know I've seen some 37s.
Yeah,
I mean,
high 30s is.
We've seen them up there. So you know, one thing that I want to comment about. I mean, obviously, you know, guys are used to and have been used to for the longest time. Basically, as far as, you know, actually both L3 and Elbit, you know, they've been unlimited FOM tubes, which basically means, you know, so, I mean, people talk about like people go way overboard actually talking about things like 18 UM, and yeah, so technically the minimum spec of an 18 UM tube is 1540 figure of merit, 1540 FOM.
The minimum.
I have an like a 3800 FOM 18 UM tube. So you know, it means less than you think.
A lot less.
That being said, the super gain tubes that we have, you know, the super gain tubes that we've been allowed to release on the commercial market. You guys have heard me talk a lot about super gain, not just this week, but just in general. I'm always talking about super gain, it feels like. They are currently FOM limited at 2996. They are currently FOM limited at 2996 because at 2997 happens to be a contract spec. There's not that many of them, and they are in heavy demand. I'll let you make your guesses as to what those 2997 super gain tubes are going into in sets of 4, but you know, that's why right now, I mean, obviously, you know, I'm sure I'm sure in Tempe and Londonderry and just Manchester, New Hampshire in general, they're all fucking annoyed by me because I got them all like rotating speed dial, asking them for various things. Like, when can I have this? When can I have this? I want this. I saw this in a briefing, or I saw this at a you know, can I have this? Can I get this? Can I sell this to my customers?
But of course, with those unicorn tubes, you might be waiting a lot longer for
Yeah, that's something to say, you know. So we do offer, a spec request for no charge at TNVC. TNVC built systems. So you could, the best thing to do. I talk to a lot of guys who want to have, they want to have requests, or sometimes they don't know what to ask for. They just went online somewhere and they saw something and they're like, hey, some guy said this is what I should get. You know, best case, give us a buzz. It's a consultation. It's private. You know, between the TNVC staff and talking to you, and we can make some good recommendations. So you're not waiting forever. Because you have guys who've wanted like unicorn, like literally unicorn tubes, and some of those guys have waited up to a year. I've had some guys actually wait longer than a year, like really particular guys. And hey, if you're willing to wait that long, go for it. But realistically, for the average guy, for practical usage. I mean, you don't need, I mean, the unfilmed tubes, they're just, they're fantastic. The average specs are great. They're pretty much all 2376 at this point that we're getting. So it's like, a 2376 unfilmed tube is awesome. So going a whole lot higher, I would say for the aficionados maybe, like sure, but the average guy getting the first set of tubes, don't get too wrapped up on it.
Well, I mean, I think the other thing to think about and to talk about when it comes to FOM is also like people people get really wrapped around like that raw number, but there's also like some proportionality to it. And I am not a quick mental math person, but like the difference between
You're not a quick
1800 there was a direction I could have gone with that, and I thought not to.
Self-control, I love it.
But the difference between 1800 FOM and 2000 FOM is proportionally, by like in terms of percentage, it is a way bigger difference than the difference between 2800 and 3000.
Yeah.
When people are like, well, it's 200 whole FOM points. But
I can't say though that I've been stacked up somewhere going to somewhere really bad, and somebody going, oh shit, I just dropped 100 FOM. These conversations are going to be had in places like that.
So I guess we should move on to that. All right.
Somebody's asking about whether the Voodoo S is worth the price versus iRay. We try to stay too much out of the the overtly soapboxy stuff. So we're not going to talk a whole lot about iRay. Well, I mean, so iRay, ultimately is, Chinese company, and I mean, you're basically beta testing for the PLA, but that's neither here nor there. I said we weren't going to talk about that.
You were there.
Voodoo S is a mil-spec system being used and issued to, actually, the reason that we have the Voodoo S is because in order to get a contract vehicle to be used at the highest level of the DoD, they had to promise that it was a COTS product, which is a commercial off-the-shelf product. So in order to do so, Pixels on Target contacted us and a few others, so we released them commercially so that they were a COTS product. But I mean, again, very high quality mil-spec device being used at the highest level of operations.
Yeah. My take on it is if you want to have the kind of kit, the kind of gear that you feel extremely confident in. I mean this thing's designed for those guys like Augie's saying. So that's the kind of end user it's made for. So if you want to have that same type of equipment, then it's going to be worth it to you for that. So.
When will G24 mounts actually be in stock? Man, not soon enough.
I mean, the thing to realize, right, is that we sell a lot of stuff, and it's not. I'm not saying that to like sound like we're bragging or anything, but because we do, you know, I mean, there's just a lot of people that need this stuff, and so that's what causes the delays for us, is because those guys have to get their stuff before you can get it. So you just have to be patient with it. There are some alternatives. I mean, if you need a dovetail helmet mount, I mean, the G24 is still my recommended go-to.
Absolutely.
Dovetail mount, but there are alternatives. In my recommendation, and this is what I've had guys do. So get a stopover mount. I always like to have backup mounts anyways, you know, because you never know. You know, you could do something and biff it or something and mess something up, but then, you know, it's never a bad idea to have a backup mount. So why not, you know, get something that'll get you by. We can make some recommendations. We got a bunch of stuff. Neuronos makes really good dovetail mounts as well. You know, pick up something like that, and then have your G24 on order, and then when it shows up, hey, you'll have 2 dovetail mounts.
What's the switch company? It's leaving my head. There's another good company. They're pretty expensive. They're available, but they're very expensive. But the G24 is the way to do it.
Yeah.
So I think we might, you know, end up going to a couple of more lengthy conversations and stuff like that. So again, we've been having, you know, we've been getting some questions about the 50-degree field of view lenses. So, you know, you guys had a chance to kind of try them out a little bit
tonight's
last
my
night.
night. So we all had it last night. Tonight's my night.
Yeah,
I mean,
that doesn't sound like night vision.
I mean,
All right.
I mean, something to say. And Augie's brought this up a lot in the past, and you know, and it's something that it sounds like a good marketing point, you know, to say, and it is. But the truth is that we definitely, it's something I was really impressed with when I joined TNVC, is that TNVC thoroughly vets products before we'll put them on the website. You know, so these lenses look really good. I mean, I used them last night. I liked it. We just got a hold of them. So so just stay tuned for that. But I do like them. I think the increased the 50 degrees is nice. But you know, it's just one of these things. Like, you know, they're going to be expensive most likely. So, you know, if you're looking to get it, I mean, you know, the 40 degrees works fine. It's worked fine for a long time. Like Augie mentioned, I think yesterday, you know, there's always been that pursuit for field of view. You know, field of view's been a thing. So, so I think if you're somebody that wants that, I think it's a good product for that. But that's, I'll leave it there and let Augie.
Well, so settle in, guys. Let me digress.
I got some talking here too.
So I mean, you know, I think that on the one hand, I mean, everybody, you know, on the one hand, there's nobody doesn't think more field of view is good. Nobody doesn't think more field of view is cool. But you know, there are comments and concerns that, being frank and honest, that I have about, you know, the technical aspects about this. I mean, we put out a white paper on kind of wide field of view systems a few years back as well. I mean, wide field of view NVGs has been kind of like the holy grail of the DoD for decades. The DoD has thrown tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars at this, you know, solution, or looking for a solution to increase from the standard 40-degree field of view of a, you know, of the standard 18mm image intensifier tube that we're all so used to, that we've been you know, using for so long now. And you know, again, this has been a holy grail. That's why panos were developed. That's why, you know, things like the PVS 25s, for any of y'all who are really into like the deep dive of history, which was like, you know, a set of funky PVS 15s with the lenses angled out, you know. So everybody, you know, pano bridge, everybody was like, woo, like panning goggles, wider field of view. Like, I mean, again, I think it's great that there's more of an opportunity for more people to try out this technology, but this is not a new technology. The DoD has thrown tens of millions of dollars at this problem. They have built dedicated PVS 15s that are pointed like this, dedicated PVS 31s that are pointed like this.
Unsuccessfully.
Very unsuccessfully. And they threw, I think it was a $15 million SIBR at Kent Optotronics about 10 years ago or something like that for exactly what we're talking about. Foveal lenses, I think 50 or 51 degree foveal lenses. So a lot of money has been spent on this. People are, there's some people even that we've seen on social media that are understandably skeptical about how how can we be sure that this problem has finally been cracked? And I'm not here to tell you that it has been cracked. Like Will said, we are early on in our testing and evaluation of these lenses. We and Acton Black are aware of the many historical downfalls. We are aware of the history of wide field of view goggles, but I think all of that kind of begs the question as to, going back to where we started, why are wide field of view goggles such a holy grail of a holy grail of the DoD, of the military forces, of end users and operators, we obviously the technical merits of just being able to see more are huge, but to me, I mean, and I talk about this a lot when people ask, like, what are the benefits between, or what is the primary benefit of a binocular night vision system over a monocular night vision system? And so I think people forget the effect, the impact of the psychological aspects of some psychophysiological aspects in terms of, we always talk about speed, surprise, violence of action makes a great fucking t-shirt, it's a great little jingle, but violence of action, really, what is violence of action and what do you need in order to commit violent action in the way that's needed in a kinetic environment that, this gear is designed to be used in. And so, I mean, I think I think that wide field of view, that is why, one of the reasons why it's such a holy grail. The more you can see, the more confident you feel.
More information. But think about it. Consider, so really the only way to solve this problem is to replicate this. And, and one of the reason I say that is because our eyes move in two different ways. They move in saccades and fixations. So the saccades are the movements, fixations are the brief stops. And when you have something very close to you, especially under stress, because the deleterious effects of stress are enormous, your eyes are moving almost in, so essentially as it gets closer, your eyes move in shorter saccades. When you are in saccade, you're afocal. You cannot see. That's the majority of what we see, actually. And your brain just does away with the information because it doesn't make any sense. So when you've got panos on, when you've got anything on that is segmented information, your eyes are not moving like this. When you're under stress, you have significant, reduction of that anyway. But when your eyes are moving, especially when something's very tight to your face, like this, they're moving in very short saccades and very brief fixations. And so unless you can absolutely replicate this, like a single screen or heads up, that we talked about, we're not going to do that because we're still task switching visually. Task switching. As a matter of fact, if you put somebody in panels for the first time, they'll do this. They'll move around looking for it. So, I mean, so I don't think it's as much a technical problem as it is a technical problem. So what your brain's doing when you're doing that, when you're collecting that information, your hippocampus is very active, drawing a mental map of what's going on. That's how we can sweep, walk, because your brain just built a map of this information coming up. But it's a segmented map. It's not a holistic map. This is a holistic map. I don't think we're ever going to be able to do that. Really. I mean, to that extent.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons. Like, I think that's one of the reasons that I mean, the DoD. I mean, I think it's no secret the DoD is pursuing digital very heavily. They put $500 million into the IVAS program, and they called it a success, even though it made all of the soldiers that the soldiers touched like puke.
That's exactly right.
This is great. but yeah, I mean, that is kind of the only way that you're going to get that full amount of situational awareness. I mean, but at the same time, if you can see more, I mean, and I think that what's very telling is a lot of times, like you'll see these, and I am active on like the various social medias where people are talking about night vision, and people will ask about binos versus binoculars. And very frequently, what you'll see is you'll see a guy go in there, and some of these guys like former Rangers or for and they'll go in there and somebody will ask and they'll say it's like, oh well, you get more field of view, and then of course the internet experts are very quick to jump in there and be like, well actually, because it's true. You don't get more field of view. You don't get more than that 40 degrees that you get with 1.2. Yes. But however, why is that such a pervasive belief? Why do people who are maybe not as familiar with the technical aspects of it, but everybody thinks, your first thought is you think that there's more field of view, and it's because the more the more you can see and the closer it is to your natural vision. And again, this is acknowledging with the caveat that it's never, that looking through analog image intensifier tubes is never going to be your natural vision. No, yeah. But the closer it is to your natural vision, the more confident that you're going to feel.
Well, so it's a processing problem. So it doesn't matter what you put in front of your face, your eyes are still going to be looking at that. Yeah. And so this is proximity to your brain, right? This is the proximity. So it may give you information that you have to process otherwise, but when you shut down one eye, so if I put an eye patch over you, your heart rate would go up, your blood pressure would go up, because there's some anxieties involved in processing monocular cues as opposed to binocular cues. And so when you feed your brain that information, it's like shooting with both eyes open. It's not because of periphery, because if somebody's shooting at you, you don't have periphery. So one of those has to be true, right? But if I lock that eye down, it gives my brain a great deal more processing information, and it makes it, so we go from about 1,000 complex thoughts to 2 under deep stress anyway. One of those can't be processing monocular cues versus binocular cues. So I think binocular nods, night vision, goggles are better because it feeds your brain information in a way it wants to be fed.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like we get that, that's one of the, I would say that's probably our number one question. It's our number one, I would have to say. It's monocular or binocular, and a lot of people, it's, on the retail side, it's a big price difference, So obviously guys are looking for, the justification on it. And ultimately, that's up to you. If you want to have that kind of capability, you're just going to have to pay for it, And certainly a monocular is very useful. It's going to give you more capability than you had before you had it. Yeah. And by lowering the gain, there's things you could do to help your other eye start working more, depending on the lighting conditions.
Helps you read light.
Yeah. It can, right? And so if you have enough ambient light, it can work pretty good. But you still, like you're saying, you're still only getting more information from one eye than the other, and your brain just is not.
This is a pretty telling data point. Yeah. So we used to have this obstacle course, and so you put people through this obstacle course. If they were wearing monoculars, 14s, they would underperform on their first run. Yeah. The guys with binoculars would always outperform them. On the second run, the guys with the binoculars would equal their performance. Yeah. But you don't always get a second run.
And this is something I really want to point out. So I think a lot of people, for good reason, they're skeptical. Companies are only saying that because we're only telling you that because binoculars, we're going to make all this more money. But it's the truth. It's just the truth. And when people, they always associate it that way. And it's like sometimes when somebody's telling you to buy the more expensive thing, it's not because they're trying to get more money out of you. It's because it's the better thing. Yeah.
Binoculars are heavier.
I would also point out that just generally speaking, our average profit margin is actually lower on binoculars too. So I'm just going to throw that out.
But regardless of whether you have binoculars or monocular, practice with what you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an invaluable piece of this is whatever system you have, you've got to practice with it.
Absolutely.
Know its capabilities, know your capabilities under that particular system.
And that's the other thing. I'm not sitting here knocking PVS 14s. First of all, PVS 14 is an extremely versatile, very useful system. The vast majority of my professional career was spent under PVS 14s. You train hard, like you can train to use it. Just like Buck just said, if you train a lot, you can match the performance because it's the internet experts are technically right from like a raw performance standpoint. There isn't necessarily a reason that they should be any different in their capabilities. But when you're talking about do I feel feel full of piss and vinegar and ready to kick in that fucking door and fuck shit up, binos have it in a way that monos just don't. And maybe that's not what you're doing. Maybe that's not what you need. Maybe that doesn't fit the profile of whatever you're doing.
But you know,
if you're kicking in a door, use white light.
Yeah. You know, but going back to Augie's point on that, I mean, even, you know, and I keep coming back to the retail side, because obviously that's with a lot of retail customers, and I deal with Gov as well, but, you know, the retail guys are who I spend the most amount of time with on the phone, because they're trying to, you know, make this educated decision to spend a lot of money out of their own pocket versus a Gov guy who's not necessarily spending his own money.
He shrugs like
yeah,
that.
I mean, some smelly guys struggle too, because some of these guys got to buy their own shit, you know. But anyways, what I'm getting at is, God, that's my train of thought.
It was really good.
I'll do that to people.
Yeah, I know, but shit, what was I gonna say? I fucking lost my.
Binos are better.
Yeah, basically, I totally lost my.
I mean,
Sorry about that,
binos
guys.
make
I had a good point I was gonna make too.
I mean, again, I think they make you more aggressive and.
Oh, okay, I remember I was gonna say that. So for the retail guys, okay, so the first, you put a 14 on your eye, and I couldn't tell you how many guys I've talked to. They you know, hey, I'm gonna get a 14. It's right for me. 2 weeks later, they're calling me up. All right, man, I don't like this. I want to buy binos. And so my point is, like not just door kickers, but just some dude taking his dog out to take a shit in the woods will realize that binos are better than a mono. You know what I mean?
Hey, if you have a chance, this is a great test for it. I used to do this teaching these classes. I would have guys stand, you know, beside each other, probably separated by 2-3 meters, and we'd play catch with, you know, a ball, a beach ball, and then go right down to those little Nerf balls. Yeah. And the guys with binoculars outperform them every time. Yeah. Every time. So if you're gonna buy, you know, if you're on the cusp of that decision, go play catch.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Somebody asked if the E-Cody works with the 50-degree field of view lenses. They do, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I tested that. You know, I tested that specifically because obviously we've got the TAD and the E-Cody, and that was definitely something that that I wanted to see how that performance was. And you know, and yeah, because it's a slightly reduced field of view, or it's slightly increased field of view. So you can kind of tell with the outline of the 30-degree field of view. So it's actually pretty interesting because then you can see more prominently how much of an increase in field of view you're getting.
Okay.
There.
Yeah.
But so all right. Is the mall that much better than others? Please explain why the world is mall crazy. Is it really that much better? And are major upgrades to the mall coming soon for mere mortals?
What upgrades are we looking for?
Yeah.
More power.
So I mean, it depends on what others you are talking about when you ask, is it that much better than others? I mean, I think that, you know, I try to stay as much as possible out of this comparison game.
What are you doing with it? What are you doing with it? Are you shooting pigs, or are you using it for like you know?
Well, there are pros and cons to everything. The mall, especially the mall C1 Plus, for other lasers in a similar class of device, fully commercially available, is, I mean, it's a fantastic performer. But I like the performance. I don't want to say the performance is secondary. Performance is definitely not secondary. However, this goes back to what we were saying about the APL. The thing that I love about the mall is that it's easy to use and it's easy to teach.
Yeah, it is very easy to teach.
Yeah. Like, you think about, and again, I love the APL. I have spent probably close to 15 years using an APL. I can switch an APL to what I want it to do in my sleep.
Exactly.
But that takes some time and effort to develop. That takes a lot of training. A mall, and I've literally done this in for law enforcement guys who have bought malls from us. I can literally give you I can give you like a 10-minute block of instruction, put you out on the range, and you are effectively switching that thing, and you can make that laser do whatever you want to on command in the dark without looking at it.
It's very intuitive and it's kind of very ergonomic feel.
Yeah.
The only complaint I had, and this was earlier, they fixed it, but some of the earlier ones, the illuminator, this was probably prototype. types. The Illuminator had a 180-degree cast, and in the environment we're living in today, you just don't get that. You know what I mean? But I think they've narrowed it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a revision a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think 2021.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. I mean, it was absolutely visible way out, but it's extremely powerful.
It comes back to what you're doing with it. I mean, if you're like looking for, if you're gonna shoot coyotes or pigs or something like that, then that could be useful, you know, to get one of the early ones where you get more of a flood out of it.
Yeah.
But if you're near structures and stuff, that's no good.
Yeah.
It's not so good, you know. So
You're gonna shoot coyotes, grow a great beard.
yeah.
Well, so when when I'm showing people and talking to people about the importance of like ergonomics and intuitiveness, because I mean at the end of the day, I mean Mall C1 Plus came out in like 2017, so it's not the newest product it's not the newest product on the market now. There have been other class 1 lasers that will get close or possibly even match it for raw IR performance, but the training exercise, the exercise that I always like to do is to put like either a target or even just say to a guy like, get your illuminator inside that dark doorway.
Yeah.
And because if you have your laser on the wrong setting and then you flip that thing on to the wrong setting, then all you're going to get is a splashback from the walls, and it's going to get darker inside the portal.
Yeah.
So you have to know how to get your laser, and you have to know how to do that on command. You have to know how to do that by feel, because you're not going to sit there fiddling with the controls and trying to figure out, what do I need to do in order to get my laser in that doorway and only in that doorway. And that's, and people are, again, it's the effective range thing. People are always talking about range.
Power, how much power?
Yeah. And to me, it's like, no, that's an important exercise at short range, being able to switch laser modes.
Absolutely. I agree with you. If you haven't had the pack without the screw, really the laser can do it. Like that's the name. You're gonna make it blind.
All right.
So is it time for a giveaway?
I think it's time for a giveaway.
What do we want to give away?
All right.
4D pads. How about some 4D pads?
We can give away some 4D
Let's do
pads.
some 4D pads. Yeah.
Those are always good. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just a good giveaway. All right. So the winner on 4D pads, and in case you missed it from last night, there's different ones available. If you're not sure which one you need, just get a hold of us and I'll tell you which one to get for your helmet. So the winner is Douglas E.
Dougie E.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Let's do another one as well. We got a Voodoo 36-inch rifle case. You want to grab that real quick, Will?
Oh, that bottle's gonna go, dude. All
right.
I would have jumped the bottle. There you go.
All right, Voodoo Tactical 36-inch rifle case. I like this tan and the black.
Yeah, it's very good. Contrast.
It's not super camouflagey, but
it's good.
It's cool.
It's evocative.
It's the aesthetic.
I'm tactical, but not really.
Like that's just for the guy like, I just want to be tactical, but not too flashy.
Those nights when you just want to kind of bridge the gap.
All right, so the winner of the Voodoo bag is Ryan M.
Ryan,
Congrats.
nice work. That's cool. That's really cool.
That's pretty
I'm going to put these caps in there for you.
Yeah.
Fix our little LARPer patches here.
OCD, right?
Oh, God.
How about that?
Me, OCD?
Still not
No.
perfect.
CDO, come on now. All right.
I'll let Augie answer that one.
Yeah, so the question is, it's not wholly inaccurate. What is the likelihood of more companies growing image intensifier tubes to help increase supply and lower cost?
Well, they've had like 50 years to do it.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, there's a Chinese company that does it. There are Russian companies
The French are the
that do
closest
it.
to us, right? I mean, in terms of quality of tubes, I heard the French are the nearest to us.
Well, in terms of performance of tubes, but like, so you're talking about Photonis, which is a French-based company. So they make a Generation 2 architecture tube.
Oh, okay.
So it's a multi-alkali photocathode. So it is technically, under the U.S. Army's classification schema, a Gen 2 tube. There's some internet debate and discussion, as there always is, about how close exactly they are to Generation 3. I mean, I'll say that they're not bad tubes, but they do not even remotely match the raw low light performance of a Generation 3 image intensifier. And I think that, to me also, and this goes back to what we were talking about, more information, better information. For me, it's not even that the tubes get darker faster than a Generation 3 image intensifier, but the image quality and the image crispness, and therefore your ability to distinguish, I just feel like it's a steeper curve between your ability to and again, if you're kind of in a profession of arms or anything remotely related, like the ability to distinguish between a shovel and a rifle or a cell phone and a handgun. I think that there's a steeper curve as the light begins to fail. But that wasn't the question.
Yes is the answer. Anyway, next question.
What is the likelihood? I mean, I think that the most likely people.
Wait, we were done. We were moving on. Sorry.
The most likely people to do so are not ones that you would be wanting to buy with, basically, because I mean. Again, ITAR regulations are pretty difficult and convoluted to deal with as an individual and even, a company like TNVC. But to our allies, US Gen 3 is pretty available. And to those who don't want to maybe necessarily go through US ITAR regulations, there's Photonis and Harder Digital that have image intensifier tubes available. So the only people that are really wanting to set up new tube manufacturing, that's the infrastructure that we were talking about, all of those things that you need to make analog image intensifier tubes, are the people who can't get them from the folks that already make them.
And they're probably not going to be great.
Yeah, that's something to add. This is what I tell a lot of guys too. I mean, so if you're in Canada or you're in Europe, you're somewhere where, because of ITAR, you can't get, an unfilmed white phosphor tube or a nice, thin film white phosphor tube, US Gen 3. That's your option, and hey, that's better than nothing. But if you're American, you can buy this stuff, American made Gen 3, I mean, just buy that. I mean, that's my opinion on it, so.
Let's give some more shit away. All right. Next giveaway, we'll do a Tor Mini, TNVC Steiner Tor Mini IR. Skylar B. Skylar B, you get a free Tor Mini IR. I mean, I went on this rant, I guess you'd call it, yesterday also when we, I mean, it's
soapbox rant.
Tor Mini's not an appeal, it's not a mall.
No, but it's a great idea.
But it's a nice, simple, useful little laser. It's not
single purpose. It's not an MFAL unit. It's great for budget-minded people. Great as just a small backpack gun, something like that.
That's exactly it. Truck gun. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That's a good idea. What are your expectations for the civilian market for night vision in the next 10 years?
Expansion. Next.
I mean, we covered a lot of that already.
Yeah.
Sort of, so you could tune in and check out, well, not tune in, but check out the other videos too, I guess. What is the direction of future technologies, weight savings, or image improvement?
Interesting.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So I think that it tends to come and go. I remember, just a few years ago, everybody was obsessed with weight.
Yeah.
And then now, people, and that's just kind of, the pendulum of, what people prioritize swinging. Now it's all, super clean tubes, super clean tubes, super clean tubes.
Well, it's just like cell phones. We want them as small as they can get, and now they're getting iPad size.
Well, it's so funny, man. I have this conversation quite a bit with guns, talking about guns specifically. So over the last few decades, we've learned a great deal right? So think about pistols, right? So we went into GWAT and all of the other wars we were in for the last 3 decades with 1911s. I mean, high operators used 1911s. 1911's best answer fighting with a gun. And then we, it didn't take us very long to get to the Glock 19 because it went bang every single time. And now that all that's gone, now that the proving ground is closed, the 1911's like peeking around the corner, like, hey guys, what's up? Oh God, I kind of feel like that's what's going on.
Yeah, that just makes me think of like the first time I heard of staccato. I mean, because like, so I mean,
didn't say staccato, just for the record.
I was, I love like I will always have a soft spot in my heart for American Steel from 1911. So obviously I knew what the fucking STI was. Yeah. Like I was, I knew about it when certain organizations were trying to decide whether they were going to go to the Glock 22 or an STI Tactical 5.0, and then but I remember like fucking 2011s were like a backwater of the tactical guns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then like all of a sudden, and this was at when I was working for TNVC. Like I said, I don't test guns any. I'm an enthusiast, yes, but I'm not paying as much attention to like what's coming up in the pistol world, and then suddenly everybody's raving about staccatos, and then I finally look into it, and I'm like, 2011s, like STI 2011s, because I mean I don't know, I don't know if I'm crashing any bubbles at this point, but like staccato what, like it's STI, for me.
You gotta get back to night vision.
For me. But yeah, so yeah.
I mean, so weight savings is the that in the middle of when you're packing out, you're gonna jump out of an airplane or something like that. Weight savings is a big deal, but we're not doing that much anymore. So it's probably gonna be image improvement.
Well, I mean, and I think that enough enough lightweight housing. I mean, for a while it was something like the Sentinel, which is not that light, and like PVS 31s on the other extreme. But nowadays, I mean, there's plenty of lightweight housings. There's lightweight lens options. So it's become like, I've definitely perceived it to become much less of the conversation than it was even a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Next question's great. We knew this was coming.
Well, we've done that like 3 days every night. We've done
No, it will not.
Yeah.
In the next, I mean,
They don't know what the question is.
Oh yeah, sorry. So the question is, will digital night vision surpass standard tube light collection in the next 5 years?
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
But no.
We're way off on digital night vision.
Yeah, way off.
I mean,
it's easy to fool you though, because you can go to Sam's and buy, something to hang on the side of your house that calls itself night vision, and it's logic-based night vision. It's there's no tube involved and so on and so forth, but that doesn't translate. It doesn't translate.
Yeah.
so this is an interesting question that we've touched on. Don touched on it a little bit, but so the question is, well, grammatically, it's kind of a mess.
That's the English major over there.
I love it. Grammatically.
Nice work, Molly.
Well, no, Molly didn't write these questions. She's just copying them. I'm not putting this on you, Molly.
Too late.
But basically, what advances do we see in the future for civilian night vision users? And I think it actually, there's another question further down on our list, because again, guys, we're looking at a list right now of questions that you guys have submitted, asking about 3D printing technology and everything like that. So to me, what I think is very interesting that I have been seeing, I mean, TNVC, Tactical Night Vision Company, it's veteran owned, veteran founded. So TNVC has always kind of focused, and we kind of always anticipate on focusing on the professional level of professional grade equipment. But in the last few years, there's been a very, kind of significant increase, expansion, I dare say even creation of a middle tier. I mean, there were always like the ATNs and the various junk digital, night vision that we've been talking about as well. So there's always like that kind of like super low end of things. And then there was, the TNVC level, the duty level, same stuff that the operators are using. But there's this kind of like middle, this middle market of dedicated civilian focused equipment. I mean, I think that is, first of all, I mean, I'm 100% for it. I mean, but there's also, we were talking about the specialization of systems and whether or not there was going to be a Gen 4. I mean, there's some divergence now that's happening in terms of like what the civilian market wants, as opposed to like what DoD wants, and DoD wants all of these network systems and augmented reality and stuff like that is not really, it's becoming less and less relevant. Now, going back to our conversation with Adam, I think that we should be able to own all of that
Whatever
shit.
we want,
But nevertheless, it's not.
It's less relevant to that strata.
Yeah.
And then going back to the point that we made before is, what are your operational requirements? Do you need that, or do you don't need it?
But so I mean, I think that that's kind of the most interesting thing, to watch for in the night vision market, in the night vision sector is how this kind of middle strata is going to develop of more and more civilian focused equipment.
That's fascinating, actually, because like you say, these requirements for the generations, the linear generations, have always been defined singularly. Like some staff officers saying, I really need a good bullet point here, right? From my Gen 2. But now, essentially what you're saying is the free market.
Yeah.
The exposure to the free market's going to, who knows what that's going to bring. Yeah. Generally speaking, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well,
and to address the question about 3D printed technology and it getting better and so I think that obviously I'm not saying anything groundbreaking by saying that 3D printing, additive manufacturing technology is it's making it easier to innovate things. You no longer have to pay tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to get injection molding, to get molds made and have to manufacture something in the scale of hundreds and thousands in order to like amortize your investment for developing things. You just print the thing, and so you can innovate, you can come up with something. And I think that additive manufacturing technology is a large part of what has made that middle strata kind of expand, because
in all kinds of
not just in night vision.
I mean, the one thing I'll say that one thing that is interesting, I guess, is that when you're talking about how expensive image intensifiers are and stuff like that, the one downside to it as well is that you're kind of beta testing on people. Sometimes it depends, because if you're not necessarily putting in, like when companies are doing molds and are doing this whole process, it's really expensive to make all this stuff. So they really spend a lot of time getting to that point. Whereas if you're just pumping stuff out, how much time can you really, spend on that in terms of developing it and getting it to the point where, like, sure, if you're some dude, just having fun with it, sure, but likewise, if it's a cop or somebody that's like, hey, this one's a lot cheaper than these other ones, I'm gonna buy that one, but hey, has that been vetted to where it's gonna live up to what he needs it for, kind of a thing. So I mean, I'm not talking it down, but that's just something to consider. Is that when you can pump something out, it's great, but on the other hand, it's like, I mean, I guess one advantage is you can make continual improvements pretty quick, but
who pays for that?
Right, but I mean, like, it's not like you're talking about a clip for a backpack. You're talking about something that's holding really expensive tubes inside of it,
or your life, or somebody else's life.
Well, and I will say that the other thing about mid strata products and
I think we coined that tonight, actually. Mid-strata.
And you know what? I am getting on the soapbox a little bit about this. It is, when you're talking about like your major manufacturers, it is really hard to invest the money. And I think, even some of the companies and our friends in the industry who do work with additive manufacturing stuff have learned this lesson very quickly. It is very discouraging to throw your heart and soul and your resources into the creation of a product knowing that you have maybe 18 months on the market before there's a Chinese knockoff on it.
Which is a great lead-in.
That happened with Bush Fighters, yeah.
And I have literally been in, conversations with some big companies that had some great plans for commercially focused night vision and thermal style products that once I explained to them the reality of the fact that you have maybe 18 months of market sales before there's another version of it coming in at 40% of the price and the project dies.
Absolutely.
Right there and there.
There's a major Chinese optics company that does all of their research and development in Sweden.
I like that. Yeah.
So that segue there was So there's a particular product that made kind of a big splash at SHOT Show this year. It was essentially and effectively a thermal red dot. So the person asking the question is asking whether the U.S. market is going to catch up to that. I would point out that concept of product originated on the U.S. market. There is a number of unsuccessful thermal red dot sites.
Dougie's bag just fell.
Sorry, Doug.
I'll pick it up for you.
Thermal red dot sites that have been, developed, manufactured, and marketed that kind of, very quickly were found to be a solution in search of a problem. I am very open to, and because again, there are a lot of companies, even ones that we work very closely with, that have, tried to create this solution. This international company happens to be, the most recent one to have done so, and they, of course, when they announced their price point, which is not, as I understand, in their most recent 2023 catalog, so they got a lot of attention for it, but they're absolutely not the first to try to market a concept like this, and
which is not novel at all to that company.
But I'm very, I really would be, I'm awaiting someone to show me the application for that product that another product existing on the market doesn't do better.
Well, I think we're right back at that thing that we were talking about a moment ago about the 1911 peeking around the corner. So what we're living in right now, it's interesting because all these conversations are coming together. We're living in a very consumer-driven market as opposed to a warfighter market. Because as we speak, I don't know, I've checked the news in the last hour or so, but we're not at war, and so the proving ground is gone. And so all these things are coming in, and this gimmick. Actually, what's happening, I think, is we're making products to sell, not to solve problems. You know what I mean? And I think that's probably one of them. Like you say, a solution in search of a problem. I see it everywhere. I see it all over the whole place. Triangular reticles and all kinds of crazy stuff.
It'll sell.
That was a jab.
That's the thing. Somebody will buy it.
Yeah, right.
Let's give away some more shit.
All right.
It's not shit. It's actually all very high quality stuff. I'm sorry. It's
Augie said that. His name Augie.
We can't read the name of that company.
What else we got?
Let's do some more 4D pads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So the winner of the 4D pads is Ryan MC, not the previous Ryan M.
A different Ryan.
It said Ryan M.
Different Ryan. Ryan.
I mean,
Nick.
Yeah. I mean, if you're,
You'll get me.
So we're good to go.
All right, we'll try to lighten you around it a little bit.
Well, let's give away the last tour mini also.
Oh yeah. I'm digressing.
That's such a cool thing.
Yeah, as he says, I'm digressing.
And then goes on for another hour.
All right, for the tour mini, let's see here.
Ryan M, another one.
This one's for Ryan.
Just kidding. Bob H.
Bob H.
You are the winner of the tour mini.
Cool.
Nice.
That is a product that is not in search of a problem.
Yeah.
It meets a
Yeah.
tier in the market. I think it's
Yeah.
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. I mean the power settings are really useful. You know, the low power on it, especially. I mean, it's you get very little bloom out of it. A lot of times, even in dark conditions, depending on how far away your target is, sometimes you don't even need an illuminator because it's a nice, crisp, point with that low power setting. It's easy to switch. It's great.
But we want all the power.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we
Take the blue screw out.
we need an 80 milliwatt. We need an 80 milliwatt pointer on our on our pistol caliber carbine.
That's true. God bless America.
All right. Can TNVC offer more budget-friendly tube options? There are budget-friendly tube options. This is an interesting question.
Why are they budget? That's
Well,
the
but not only that. I mean, we're always on the search for kind of better or kind of good value products that we can offer. And you know what, I would say, I would point out that actually I think a lot of our competitors are starting to learn this as things go, as time goes on. But like, ain't none of us getting rich off any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
costs too much to manufacture.
yeah, and so there are not huge profits in the night vision industry. More budget-friendly tube options. I mean, we're always looking for them. There are a couple of companies that have jumped on some commercial spec tubes that were kind of dumped onto the market by another larger reseller recently, and we were offered those tubes. We kind of decided that they maybe didn't represent the best value for our customers, and I'm not saying they're bad tubes. I mean, they're good tubes, but they kind of weren't necessarily what we were looking for.
A premium product.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be shy about that. I don't think you should be shy about it. Yeah.
But so we're always looking for to give our customers the best value. Can I say that there is that I have something in mind on the immediate horizon? No, but I mean, it's always something that we're trying to do. We always want to. Myself, Victor Costola, the owner and founder of TNVC, Shane, Will, everybody that works at TNVC, we would like nothing more than for as many people as possible to have night vision.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether you get it from us, whether you get it from someone else, we want, we want as many people, at least as many good guys, to have night vision as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So, we're not trying to keep anything from you.
The way I look at tubes is, any image intensification is that you're buying a capability. So when you spend less, you're getting less capability.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but that's just kind of how it goes. It really is. That's the truth.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. How much advantage are super gain, high gain tubes, and would they be? Listen, guys, we have talked a lot about.
It's super. Next question.
Super.
We have talked a lot about it.
Same answer as usual. Depends on your mission, your application, and honestly and frankly, your budget.
Yeah.
Are they a better fit in a automatic brightness control housing? So in 10160 format tube or in a manual gain housing. So here's one of the interesting things that we have
Let's settle in.
that we have learned, when it comes to image intensifier tubes and really just people and vision in general. So I'm not even like I go to the optometrist now. We discussed this in a previous call, but I got these thick ass Coke bottle lenses. I spend a decent amount of time with eye doctors and have since the second grade.
Those could probably stop it.
But they are the ballistic polycarbonate. So now I go to the optometrist and I end up spending like an extra hour there just like talking about vision because but also my eye doctor has found out that I was doing night vision stuff, and so now we just like spend an extra hour, and it's like eventually it's like, oh, and by the way, better one, better two.
That's why I can't get into there.
But I mean, generally speaking, or if you want to generalize, human beings are wired to prefer brighter images.
Yeah,
That's why people generally feel happier on a sunny day.
Yeah.
You like the brighter images. When you start to get, but within that, there's a huge range of variability in terms of people's light sensitivity that has to do it has to do with so many different factors up to and including like eye color. And people's sense of light like I happily use super gain tubes in an automatic brightness control system, and if I could still get them brighter, I probably still would. I would crank them, I'd crank them even higher than that, because I like a really bright image. I mean, it drives my wife crazy. Like even like in bed at night, I'm the guy who's got my phone up at like full blast. I like a bright image. Not everyone is like that, and at this point, so with a 1600 FOM green filmed tube, it wasn't as much of an issue because they only got so bright. Now the technology, the manufacturing, the specs and performance has progressed so much that once again, the technology is outrunning the body and the humans, the person's ability to handle it. So I definitely think that super gain, high gain systems make manual gain control more relevant. Some people will find it an absolute necessity. Some people, maybe like me and just be like, I'm fine with it.
I've got them in Artemis. It's an auto gain system. They're perfectly fine. I mean, like Augie was saying, these super gain tubes, the SNRs are much higher on them, and that's why they can do the super gain on them. And it's like goes back to what you were talking about earlier. I mean, the thing is, like, you might get a little bit more scintillation in some conditions than you would with the lower gain tubes. If you don't have a way to turn it down, you don't have any way to manage that. However, you can also see better as well, and it comes down to like night vision relies on detection a lot, unless you're using thermal augmentation with it, like a Cody or an E-Cody or something like that. Or you're lucky enough you got like, F-panos or something, but because of that detection capability, if you can see stuff out there better, like moving, if it's, whatever it takes for your brain to key in on that and see it, that's going to be advantageous to you. And it comes down to what you're doing with it. I mean, if you're mainly just hanging on your deck, sitting on and sharing your deck, staring at the stars, I mean, having gain control, you may enjoy doing that, but if what you're trying to do is see stuff in the dark, I think that increased gain is definitely beneficial because you can see better.
Well, it's interesting if you look at the way we see things, right? So what we're designed to do, we're diurnal, so we're not really designed to see at night. We're designed to see in the day. Emphatic signals are those things that we see exceptionally well. And if you read that in terms of proximity, because that's really that's how we're seeing, right? So brighter signals, emphatic signals would be closer, and that would be more dangerous. So we see those better. Subtle signals farther away, we don't see those. And so brighter is how your visual cortex works. We want brighter.
Totally. I mean, and I really think that's the key on the super gain, which makes sense why that's the spec now. So. I wouldn't be the spec.
Well, I mean, once again, we've talked about wide field of view, and we've also talked about gain as being two of the main things that DoD has wanted for decades. The third is reduced halo. I don't have much of any comments on that just quite right now.
Or fly a helicopter.
So those are the two holy grails or two of the holy grails for DoD for night vision development. But I think that it goes back to what we were talking about. It's the same. It's all the same stuff. You trying to make us more comfortable with, and to make it more similar to your regular daytime vision as possible, understanding that there's going to be limitations, but as close as we can get to it. So increased field of view, brighter image, because again, we are wired to
see brighter.
Brighter images.
And that's one thing with GP and VGs that the first time I used them that was really interesting is you're getting a lot more brightness too, because you got 4 tubes shining in it, and that made it a big psychological effect to me. I noticed when I first put them on, I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
like everything's a lot brighter.
Yeah,
because
it takes a minute because you're over processing. You're really looking. It's a great deal of information.
But you like it. You're like, "This is nice."
Yeah, because your brain is really trying to take in all the information, especially under stress, to reduce it to the binary question: fight or flight.
Yeah,
that's really what it's doing. Yeah.
Molly put an extra question mark behind the kind of coda to this question, which is, do super gain make focus caps like the matte box more viable? So, yes and no, in that an aperture cap can mimic the kind of function of a manual gain control in that it will reduce the brightness of the overall image. However, unlike a true EGAC and unlike a true manual gain control, it's not actually adjusting the amount of gain, it's just adjusting the amount of light collected. So you're not getting, so we've talked about before, oh, by the way, if you do have a manual gain system and you get a super gain tube and it's too bright for you, you're going to gain some FOM by turning it back down to 65K. That's not what you're doing when you use something like a matte box. However, an aperture cap comes with other benefits that a manual gain control circuit doesn't in terms of the improved depth of field, which also is another way to give you improved information, to give you better information. So which is more useful to have? I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, they both are ways to A, reduce brightness, and to B, give you more and better information. But they're not exactly the same.
All right, giveaway.
I think it's time for a giveaway.
Giveaway?
Giveaway. What do we want to give away?
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about Steamboat?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Right there.
All right.
This whole thing's badass.
It really is.
It's a lot of fun.
Super cool. Yeah, it's, well, this is what it is. It's a crossbow, the T2 on it. Yeah, super cool thing. It's you drop the bolts. Let me see if I can figure this thing out here. Drop the bolts into there. Holds 6, is that right? Yeah, something like that. So it holds a bunch, and then it yeah, exactly right. And you cock it this way, which is a little scary. Like that, Anyway, and you shoot it. It's really cool. Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, when they first told me we're gonna give away a crossbow, I was like, oh. Okay.
What is that?
Yeah. But I spent some time with it today, and it's really super cool. It really is.
Does the T2 come with it?
It's not my T2, so yeah. So anyway, it's made in Austria. Is that right, Molly? Yeah, it's made in Austria, so it's got to be good. Yeah, so we're gonna give that away.
Are there night vision uses for a crossbow? Could you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, get this.
Hey, torment.
But there's a video up on our YouTube. You have to go back a ways. It's I don't know how many years back it is. It's maybe 5 years ago, something like that. But there's a video of somebody killing a pig with a crossbow with the laser on
You
it.
could absolutely kill a pig with this thing. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emma almost killed a tire today with it.
I just want to point out to everybody that 5 years ago was not 1995, but actually 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. 2018 is 5 years ago.
What a cool thing, though. I was a little skeptical. I was like, oh, great, Molly, yeah, I'll be involved in that. it's
pretty sweet.
It's super cool.
Yeah,
Whoever gets this, you're gonna love it, man.
You're absolutely gonna love it. You're gonna kill every squirrel around your house with it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Try
so-
to line them up.
Get-
Try to line them up so
Yeah.
you get a bunch.
Get
of
lots of
people.
darts.
This is being given by Forward Impact TV, right? Yeah. So this is Trent T. Hey, good luck, man. Your neighbors are gonna hate you.
It's not Trent Zimmer trying to trying to get free stuff from us, right? You know, Trent, you can just ask for stuff if you want.
That's cool.
You should do a quick lightning round on these, right? Because we got.
Yeah, we're running out of time. Aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we got the giveaway of the Cobalt gun.
Yeah. Are we gonna do that tonight?
Well, we got some more for you.
Yeah, we got more.
Like, I thought
Ryan M was just like, what?
Watch it be another Ryan.
Funny.
All right, how far are we from augmented reality overlays, and how well will it integrate with analog systems?
Well, we're there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on, are you talking professional end users or civilian side? I mean, you know, for SIPTAC and stuff, I mean, that's something.
Well, I mean, some of it depends on what you mean by augmented reality, and to a certain extent, I know what you mean by augmented reality, but I'm also going to be kind of an asshole and say that, like, you know those little fucking clip-on compasses that they had for NVGs that would you had to squeeze them and they would show a compass bearing. That is that is augmented reality. Yeah. So that is no shit analog.
It's
augmented reality.
Right, yeah.
And that's absolutely fits the definition of augmented reality. I mean.
Well, we were talking about it earlier. This has been years ago. I was at Benning and I could not believe it spurred the conversation we had about too much information. Yeah. Because we had waypoint information real time. This like pillar was coming up. You know, I could move around, obviously. Yeah. But I could acquire targets. Like that's something of interest to me. That's something of interest to me, and it would track them and like give me this list of targets. And that's augmented reality, and it was a thermal overlay and all kinds of crazy stuff. So we're here.
Well, I mean, and what I would say is that obviously most folks that have lasted this long will probably be aware that thermal is a digital technology. Yeah. So we talk about these fusion systems, and even when we're talking about the TAD and we're talking about like these fusion systems, we especially and like commercial market and the end user tends to get very fixated on the fact like, oh, I can get a thermal image inside of my analog I2 device, but to a certain extent thermal is almost just a rider to some of the analog reality things that various organizations have wanted for so many years. But the thing about the technology is what's hard to do is to merge and hybridize digital and analog technology. Once you crack that nut of how to integrate it, like adding more shit to it, adding more digital features to it is actually pretty fucking easy. I mean, I know we talked about hyper-enabled operator and how, it's difficult to put in the options and everything like that.
They didn't change the operator at all.
But once you like the hard part is integrating digital and analog. Once you've done that, add a thermal sensor. Why the fuck not? Add all the various augmented reality features. Why the fuck not? You can do all of those things. So ultimately,
why the fuck not?
I'm gonna take a note.
We're removing layers. We're adding layers, and that's actually that was part of the conversation was. So what does the operator want? Because everybody has a different saturation point. Yeah. And I may not want that bloom of information because I am where the information has got to be translated into other actions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know. All right, another one.
Normal, aka standard PVS-31 alpha, has manual gain. Does the super gain version have it as well? Yes, absolutely it does. It wasn't the question. I'm going to throw this out here just because it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine that I kind of created to a certain extent.
That shocks me.
So as a term, we refer to it as the PVS-31 alpha because that's kind of the term that everyone fucking recognizes. So first of all, if it's not being used by DoD, it's not ANPVS anything.
Yeah, right. That's true.
You know, it is an L3 Harris BNVD. We utilize the term 31 alpha because that's the most recognized, like that's when White Foss systems kind of first originated. But I'll tell you, within DoD use, 31 alpha covers a huge fucking range of performance levels. Yeah. Everything from, you know, 1792 filmed white phosphor systems to that A48 2376 plus BNVD unfilmed systems that we have now. By the way, ANPVS-31 Bravo, a Navy contract 2376. Actually, it used to be 2304, but now 23. Like, the difference is the sticker in the manual between 31A and 31B. And 31C is the Air Force contract version of the 2376 PVS-31.
It's better because it's not
It's
an
way
A.
better.
It's got-
And there's an AF at the end of the there's an AF at the end of the model number. So it's the BNG-001-A48AF.
I thought that meant something entirely different.
You know, there are people out there like marketing like, oh, we have the PVS-31C, so it must be better than those PVS-31As that TNVC has. First of all, they're all the same. They're all the same thing. And if it's not being used by DoD, it's not ANPVS anything.
And Augie's mad at you.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Wilcox Class 1 illuminators. How does the Boss XE illuminator compare to that of the Raid XE? Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
That sounds like your problem.
So the biggest difference, I mean, obviously, whether you're talking about the Class 3B products or whether you're talking about the Class 3R, the civilian legal version, the biggest difference that you're going to have between the Boss XC and the Raid XC, besides, you know, the red dot function and all of that, in terms of the illuminator specifically, is that the Boss XC beam divergence is not adjustable. Whereas the Raid XC has an adjustable beam divergence using a little wheel. So that's the difference.
However, I did get to use this in a class with the Boss 16. Loved it.
Okay.
Absolutely loved it.
Nice. All right.
40 pads. One more 40 pads.
Okay. One more. We're going to do another giveaway. Another
Yeah.
set of
Yeah, sure. 40 pads.
Another set of 40 pads.
All right. So Sydney L. Sydney L. You are the winner of a 4D pad set.
Congrats, Sydney.
Awesome.
Did you say Cindy?
Sydney.
Sydney. Like Australia.
Yeah. All right.
Results getting late.
Yeah. It's getting late.
All right. At a try before you buy event, the visible beam on a laser was insanely bright, like Star Wars. However, when I used the visible laser on my mall with my new 1531 Super Gain, it isn't very bright at all. Maybe I was mistaken, and it was a visible laser on a different unit. So I mean,
Carry on.
I wasn't there, so I can't necessarily say exactly what it was that you were seeing, but I mean, one, the Super Gain is brighter,
Like Star Wars.
so you just may not be seeing as much of a difference between that visible beam and the overall image. Or I know that I know that our training team for the Try Before You buys, they also have a D-Ball A3, and the D-Ball A3 is an interesting little device in that the visible green laser, which I happen to know for a fact they have one of these, the visible D-Ball A3s with a So we've talked about the APPL and stuff like that. So most visible lasers on an MFAL are usually about 5 milliwatts. The green laser on a D-Ball A3, there are some models, including the model that one of the models that the training team has is like a 50 milliwatt green laser.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
So if they were shining that, then yes, your MAL C1 Plus visible laser is not even remotely going to compete with that.
That's what it was, man. That's for sure what it was.
So that's that may be the answer to your question.
I think that's 100% what it was.
Yeah.
All right. What products are IR compliant? A running list of items folks have found to hold their camo pattern under IR or loom, etc. could be helpful. Walking into Cabela's with nods to examine the camo patterns is not something my teenage daughter could bear for her father to do. I like this guy. A few items that work well: Cerakoted parts, camo form wrap, brown nose, aluminide 3, and Gorilla camo tape. So this is something that
I want to go into Cabela's.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
I mean, it's something, and you could probably speak to this pretty good too, but I think a lot of guys are getting wrapped up on IR because, man, it's like, I mean, what are you doing to where, because I mean, I was talking to, who was it? We were talking to the 160th guy, I think, or somebody about it, and he had a point of like, look, if somebody, if somebody knows Chris, it was Chris Sizelove, he talked about it. He was like, look, I hope somebody does try to like shine me or something like that, because I mean, that's what you want. And go ahead and tell us where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
But if you're just a regular dude, I mean, I think people get too in the weeds on it. Maybe?
Yeah. This is not a problem.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. Nor is it an advantage.
Yeah. Because if you're close enough where somebody can get a hit on you with an illuminator, I mean.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah. I mean, plus if you got your odds on, I mean, you're going to see them too.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Augie?
I mean, so I think that people.
Yeah, it's the last one. It's the last one.
I think that one of the things that people focus too much on the signature of the thing itself.
Yeah.
Versus, to me, in terms of when it comes to near IR, when it comes to IR illuminators, and when it comes to even non, in viewing something not with an IR illuminator, but the thing that's really going to make the difference is kind of the sheen, the difference in reflectivity between the surface that we're speaking of and the surroundings.
Because you can absolutely do that. I mean, as you're querying a room with a laser, if you're still doing that, querying a room or querying any area with a laser, when it hits something that has a reflective difference, it's immediately apparent. Immediately apparent.
So, like to me, the IR signature of the thing itself is secondary to how it compares with your area, your surroundings. I mean, the difference in reflectivity that you're going to need in like heavy underbrush versus like inside of a structure to camouflage yourself from IR is going to be different.
And if the advantage that you have from your camouflage hasn't been exploited on a guy that's lasing you, you've screwed up. You should have killed him.
I mean, there are the color differences, I suppose, where like you are white and you stand out on black or something like that. But under nods, I mean, there comes a distance point where it becomes a distance point where like how close or how far away you got to be where that's really.
But again, when you lay like a bunch of shit out on the grass and blast them with an IR illuminator, and you're like, oh yeah, like this nylon looks really black, Like, is your couch near IR compliant? What does that show up like? Your curtains, the tablecloth, So there's so many variables
it's the reduction of these problems to math. That's what we're trying to do when we ask these questions. And it's not that at all. It's a behavioral thing. When you're blasting in and you are working completely on your limbic system because you could die as well as that guy could die, it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like if I just am very still. It's not that way. You know what I mean? But I understand the thinking. I get the thinking. But it's just not accurate to that.
Well, I mean, and I love camouflage. I mean, first of all, it's just It's just cool looking. And I think that fieldcraft and good camouflage and good use of concealment and everything like that. I think all of those things are important. Obviously, spray painting your guns does reduce the IR signature slightly. So I'm not
lose them in the woods.
I'm not poo-pooing people who I'm not poo-pooing the idea entirely of having camouflage and being conscious of what your near IR signature is.
Yeah.
But I think that that if all you're concerned about is what is the IR signature of the thing and not how it is in comparison, because that's what camouflage is, blending into your surroundings.
Exactly right.
Then you're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yeah. And hiding is an offensive thing in the dark. It should be. If it's not, you're screwing up. You're just waiting for somebody to find you. All right. I think we're at the moment. Are we?
I think so. Let's.
Should we get the rifle?
Yeah. Let's see that. Let's see that Cobalt gun.
I hope Aaron's up watching that. He's not. Oh yeah, he is. It's only in Utah.
So.
Good job. There's a use for that thing.
So we are ready for our grand prize giveaway of the TNVC Custom Cobalt Kinetics CK Pro 13.7 inch rifle. Are we all ready for our grand prize giveaway? We do have the disclaimer. We are only going to send this to an FFL. We're not going to send it to you in piece parts. We're not going to do crazy things for you. So we will need your FFL information to send it to you, and we got to make sure that it happens to be legal under whatever.
It's all going to be legal. Carry on.
Yeah. All right, 3,
Here we go.
2, 1.
Brad G.
Brad G.
You are the
grand prize winner.
Super cool.
For vSHOTT 2023.
Nice.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Man.
You're going to love this thing.
Yeah, you
It's
are
badass.
going to love this gun.
It's badass.
It's bad. It really
You're not getting all this extra stuff, by the way, if you didn't watch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're getting
You don't want
good.
this anyway.
That's it.
That's cool.
Awesome.
All right.
That's the show.
So that's it. And,
Thank you very much for joining us. Join us next year for vSHOTT 2024. Watch your emails. If it hasn't gone out already, there's going to be a vSHOTT email that's still got some of the exclusive deals going on, and coupon codes that are only available to vSHOTT registrants, and most of them should be going until the
31st.
Until the end of the month, and then of course we always have our special farewell coupon code that will run until whenever the next vSHOTT is.
And Brad, look out, because there might be something that is going to be complimentary to that rifle. You might want to take a look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What if we're scared?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Y'all have a good night.
Good guess, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.